All right. All right. Is this now? Is it working? It is working. There we go. There we go. Oh, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. How are you doing? How have you been? The audio is alright. Are we doing well? How are we doing? So there's a lot of chatter here with Camille and Johnny this morning. Look at that. They're laughing and smiling. That's good. Here you go. Sad lady. Poor sad lady. There is still a part of me that every day wakes up with the, you know, a good vibe, with that part of humanity that tells you when you look in the mirror, I wish for other to feel as good as possible. I wish for other to be well too. And so that kind of positive attitude that you carry as you wait for your first coffee, which will definitely help that positive vibe. Conversely, without that coffee, that positive vibe might degrade a little quicker. So you wake up and you have a coffee and you think like, it's a good day, I'm feeling good, I'm alive. I wish for other people to be good too. And therefore I look at Humber and there is that part of me, empath, that thinks, I'm sorry for this lady. But then also, like the coffee, that changes very rapidly as soon as she opens her mouth. Gosh darn it. She's a pretty girl, but yeah, that doesn't say anything, as you can see. You don't do much with it. If she wants to stab you while you're not looking, you know, then it's better to look at pictures. Hello, everyone.
Are we ready for the jury then? Okay.
Here we go. We already have some audio problem, but it's probably from them. Man, I saw like literally that, you know, it's actually quite remarkable that a man that it's been basically scorned and fired by everywhere still has so many fans. I was actually impressed. I saw this video of people camping outside this courthouse to have a chance to be in line to be, you know, like in the audience there. It's like way more people than this place can afford to host.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
So I guess it's actually pretty
Remember,
remarkable.
we were in the middle of a witness last evening, so we'll continue with her testimony, okay?
Fix your audio, please. The audio, please.
Did you see Miss Heard shortly after she returned from Australia?
Fix the audio, please.
Yes. How soon after she arrived back from Australia did you see her?
I believe it was immediately upon her return.
Is it me?
she visited you in your apartment at the Eastern Columbia building. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, it's not me.
You testified that you observed injuries on Ms. Heard on this occasion. Is that right?
Yes.
It's the
What
stream,
injuries
right?
did you observe?
She had these deep cuts on the backs of her forearms.
It's the aliens. The aliens are trying
And,
to... They had enough. It's like, hey, that's it. Go back to harvest
yeah,
pomegranates.
they were very, very deep, long cuts on the backs of her forearms.
Did you see her feet?
At first, when she came over, she had shoes on.
Guys, can you... Because I see somebody tells me it's my feed, but...
What?
My audio... Can you hear my audio, right? Clearly. Or am I also pulsating?
They were cut. It was smaller cuts than the ones on her arms.
Were both feet cut?
Let's see. Oh, that's kind of weird.
I don't remember if it was both or one.
You testified that Ms. Heard told you that she got these injuries from glass from broken bottles. Is that correct?
Yes.
You were not in Australia with Ms.
Oh,
Heard
okay,
when she
then
allegedly
it's
sustained these
everywhere,
injuries.
guys.
Is that correct, Ms. Huntington?
I see in the
was not
official... I
Australia.
see also in the chat here that...
So you're only
of
understanding
the...
as to how Ms. Heard sustained these injuries is what she told you, right?
I also hear in the chat here of the main channel of Law and Crime that... yeah, it's them, it's not me. I was also recording this, okay. Guys, we have to be a little patient. They have to fix this audio, it's not us.
And just for clarification, Penthouse 5 was not Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's primary residence, correct?
Ah, here we go, finally, they
All
fixed it.
of the penthouses are connected.
Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard lived in Penthouse 3. Is that correct?
Here we
Well,
go.
technically, they lived in all of them. They were all connected.
Where did they have their bedroom? In which penthouse?
Their bedroom was in 3.
Who attended this Thanksgiving dinner?
I think that, well, Josh, myself, Amber, Johnny. There were a couple of Johnny's friends. I think Amber's dad was there. Jack, Johnny's son. I don't remember anyone else specifically.
Do you recall what time you all sat down to eat dinner?
No.
Okay, but you testified at some point late in the meal, Amber went upstairs to look for Johnny and stayed up there for a long time, correct?
Yes.
And did Mr. Depp sit down to dinner with all of you?
I don't know if we all actually sat down at one point.
Did you see Mr. Depp at some point leave the dinner?
I don't remember him leaving. I remember noticing that he was gone.
Did you see where Mr. Depp left to, where he went?
Either upstairs or out the front door. I didn't see it happen, so I don't know.
Did you observe Miss Heard consume any alcohol before she went to look for Mr. Depp?
Yes.
What was she drinking?
Red wine.
And it is so as well.
Did she seem drunk when she went to look for Mr. Depp?
No.
Did you observe any injuries to Miss Heard when she returned?
No.
Did you observe any injuries to Mr. Depp when he returned?
No.
Do you remember that when Mr. Depp and Miss Heard came downstairs, they were wearing different clothes?
I don't remember Johnny changing clothes. I do remember that Amber changed clothes.
Do you remember anyone that was still there when Mr. Depp and Miss Heard came back downstairs?
Believe Josh and myself. David Heard. And I don't remember anyone else specifically who was still there.
You also testified that when, quote, you went to look and found that a full bottle of wine had hit and broken a piece of art that Amber really loved above the bed, and that broken glass was scattered all over the bed.
Did I testify that?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that an accurate description of what you saw?
Yes.
And where did you see this? In what room?
In their bedroom of PH3.
How did you get to this penthouse from penthouse 5?
I went upstairs in penthouse 5, across the top story, which all 3 penthouses were connected, through to penthouse 3. The bedroom was also on the top story, and all the way through and around.
Do you recall seeing any spilled wine?
Wow, this lady is fed
I
up.
think there was wine. Yeah, I think there was also spilled wine
There was,
on the bed and on the ground.
Do you remember whether that bottle of wine was broken or not?
I don't remember that the bottle was broken, but there's also plenty of glasses around with wine in them that could have been part of that. There was glass everywhere.
So you specifically remember glass being everywhere upstairs. Is that fair?
On the bed, mostly.
What kind of wine bottle was it? Magnum? Red? Do you remember?
It would have been red.
Was it a Magnum bottle?
I don't think so.
What picture had been damaged?
I think it was one of,
so they're having fun. Johnny and Camille and
Eleanor
their
Finney,
team, they're in good spirit.
I believe.
What did... Apologies, Ms. Pennington. What did it look like?
I don't remember which one.
You saw the aftermath?
The aftermath, fair.
So you don't know that Mr. Depp actually threw the bottle, right?
Of course not.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Ms. Heard could have thrown the bottle, true?
I don't know.
Could have.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. You say she could have?
She could have.
Oh wow.
And was the evening still happening after you returned from observing the bedroom?
Yes.
Do you recall any other issues happening, any further problems during the evening?
I don't recall any, no.
I think
Do you
Raquel.
remember providing deposition testimony about this Thanksgiving incident when you were deposed in the divorce proceeding?
If you have transcript of that original deposition, I could take a look at it and recall.
Do you have any independent recollection of testifying during the divorce proceeding about Thanksgiving?
Are you talking about the deposition or testifying?
I'm talking about your deposition during the divorce proceeding.
She's at the
Do you
direction.
remember?
I remember the depot, but it was a very long depot, and a lot of topics were covered.
So, do you remember during the depot testifying that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard returned to dinner? Mr. Depp was, quote, acting like nothing had happened. Do you remember that testimony?
I don't remember the specifics of the testimony.
Okay. So, can videographer, would you mind, or tech, pulling up Ms. Pennington's July 14, 2016 deposition transcript?
Like Raquel looks really tired, honestly, to be there.
July 14, 2016, it's
She's like
volume 2.
really uncomfortable, looks like to me. Like really, like also what she's saying, it seems like she's saying more the truth than you would expect
Where am I
her
looking
to
in the
say,
document?
you know, like.
Yeah, if you could please scroll down to page 238. Ms. Pennington, if you could look on page 238 of your deposition transcript from July 14, 2016, line 23. And if
Yeah, they're not friends anymore. What happened here? There we go.
Do you have control? You have control.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just I don't have like the scrolly thing, so I just.
Oh man,
Look at the page.
that poor judge. She was just, oh my god. The judge is like, oh, I can't stand those two anymore. I understand the judge too, honestly. I mean, I was not aware that such a civil case can take so long. Like literally like 4 weeks of trial like that. I had no idea. Apologize for the ignorance. I'm like, what? Now I understand why the majority of men just settle outside the courts. It's like, yes, fine, here, take, half, everything. I have 12 million, take 6, it's all good. Keep the house, I'm done.
What line am I reading down to?
I'm not married and I want to give her the money to stop this. I suppose the next to Rocky there must be like a lawyer, probably, like maybe another lawyer, you know, just checking if everything is going well. Hello everyone in the chat. I see the chat goes pretty quick. Just want to thank all of you to be here. We are enduring. Wow, there's really something is happening here today with the live. Before the audio, and then they cut the feed.
Yeah, the night has faded in my memory, but as I read this, yeah.
Is that an accurate description of what you observed, Mr. Depp, that evening?
This description?
Yes. Was it your observation the evening of Thanksgiving that you couldn't tell whether Mr. Depp was drunk or angry, that he just put on a facade?
I couldn't tell what he was feeling. I didn't know what was going on.
And you couldn't tell if he was drunk, correct?
I couldn't tell.
And you couldn't tell if he was angry that evening either?
Well, I can't say what anybody else's emotions are at any time.
You didn't perceive him being angry in front of you that evening?
At me, no.
At anyone?
Not that I recall.
So fair to say that Mr. Depp did not seem angry to you when he came downstairs after for Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Raquel, she just wants to go home. Look at that. She's like,
he didn't seem any particular way to me.
He's like, I want the muffins.
He testified that in December of 2015, Amber called you over to her apartment so that you could check her out. Is that a correct statement?
I want the muffins too.
Yes.
Okay, my question was, after you arrived, you observed injuries to Ms. Heard, right?
Yes.
No, I
Do you
agree.
remember seeing that her head was bloody, where a chunk of hair had been ripped out of the back of her head?
To me, seems like he's helping Johnny's case. This witness, honestly.
Was her head actively bleeding when you saw her?
It was.
Let me
It
think.
wasn't like dripping down her head, but it was raw and red.
Was it actively bleeding, if you remember?
Define actively bleeding.
Was there blood?
Yes.
How could you tell hair had been ripped out of her head?
Because they argued. And they pulled each other hair, maybe. That's why she's
There
smiling.
was a bloody patch with hair missing.
Where was her face red?
Her whole face.
Could the redness have been from crying?
It could have been.
Where did her nose appear to be swollen?
So many phones, so little pictures. So many phones.
It'd be like the upper bridge.
Did you observe that Miss Heard had any black eyes?
Not that I recall.
Was there blood on her lips when you saw her?
It was cut open.
The chair is the witness. That's
Was
funny.
there blood coming out of that cut?
Very good. Very good, Romeo.
Sorry.
I don't remember if there was blood coming out of it at that point.
Was it on the top or bottom lip?
It was on the bottom.
Before we go there, have any independent recollection of seeing a laceration on Miss Heard's forehead?
Oh my God. Raquel. Yeah.
There were many times that I saw injuries on her. If you would like to show me a photo or point me to another place where I can remember which injury was in which instance, then I can answer the question.
So you testified that Miss Heard had a laceration on her forehead when you saw her, correct?
Yes.
If you remember, where on her forehead was this laceration?
In my imagination.
Up by the hairline.
Was it on the right or left side?
I don't remember.
Was the laceration bleeding?
I don't think so.
Raquel, you see what happens when
Sitting
you
here
do
today,
mushrooms
did you
too
observe
much?
any other injuries to Ms. Heard that evening that you remember?
Mushrooms just in the pasta.
No.
No hallucinogenic, okay?
Witness statement in the United Kingdom, that would be great.
It's like the synapses, they forget to fire. There is like a delay of half an hour in between the actual question and the synapses in the brain firing and answering.
So in paragraph 20, Ms. Pennington, you testified
It takes less time from the light of the sun to reach Earth.
Private nurse who was part of the concierge medical service which Johnny and Amber used. Is that correct?
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Is Erin Baran the private nurse you're referring to here?
Yes.
I think they lowered the volume from the stream. I didn't do anything.
At what time you called Ms. Baran?
Evening.
Do you recall Ms. Baran coming over to the penthouses that night as well?
Yes, it's not me. I didn't lower the volume. I think they did that. I have
Oh, she came over that night.
I'm shooting up the volume like I can
Recommendation to you on the phone?
put a little higher. Then maybe you don't hear me.
I think she said to maybe not let her go to sleep and to listen to her speech.
She's being cross-examined now. This is Camille asking the questions in the audio format here.
Yes.
You testified in paragraph 20 that on December 15th, 2015, you took pictures of Ms. Heard's injuries on your phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you
Well,
send these photographs?
I don't know if it was on.
I don't think you're correct. It's just the volume. It's probably the part of this audio that it's lower, right? You know?
It was my phone.
I didn't do anything.
Did you alter the photographs in any way, Ms. Pennington?
No.
Hey Abhishek, thank
Do
you so
recall
much for
sending
the super
photographs
chat.
to anyone?
No.
Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes. Amber's face with swelling on her nose, bruising underneath her eyes.
And to confirm, you don't recognize whether you took this photograph or not, right?
I don't know if I took that one.
Okay. I'm going to show you a document that will be marked Pennington Exhibit 3.
I am on their side. I am on Law and Crime Network. We can refresh, but I think it's just what it is.
Pull up Pennington Exhibit
Yeah.
6. Do you recognize this photograph?
See, no sound. They also here says volume. See, in their own chat. So yeah, we gotta be patient. It's probably just the audio of this thing.
The part of her scalp where the hair was ripped out.
It's boring anyway. They're just talking about the same pictures of yesterday, where you see some kind of like scab on the head. You know, like it's probably not even like half a centimeter.
That you photographed a big clump of hair on the floor, which is blonde in color and clearly belonged to Amber. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes, I remember.
And honestly, a type of scab like that, you can actually cause it yourself by scratching your head, and then it creates that kind of thin layer of yellow, a little bit infected, you know. But
And just to confirm,
I mean, to truly pull a chunk of hair out of your freaking skull,
penthouse is a closet.
that will leave probably also a bruise. Honestly, I think. So it's quite a traumatic
Penthouse 5.
thing to do.
How did you know that the hair clearly belonged to Amber?
Well, you know, the witness is being careful because probably she has both to remember what she said, you know, which was bullshit, basically. So she's more careful.
But you didn't see the hair get ripped out of her head, right?
Correct.
And so you're understanding that this was Ms. Heard's hair.
Guys, I've said this already. It's their official stream like this. We checked already in the chat. Look, you see?
My understanding
Everybody's
that Ms. Heard's
complaining
hair was
about the
what I
audio
saw
in here.
on her body and on the floor.
Like now I cannot even see it, but yeah. I mean, it's right here. See, fix the audio, please.
The fact that it had been, quote, ripped out of her head, that was based on what Ms. Heard told you, right?
Yes, and common sense.
If we could pull up Pennington Exhibit 7, please. Ms. Pennington, do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah, I checked too. It's not a...
Yes.
It's funny because you look at those hair,
Picture
right?
of a clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony.
And
Yes.
like if you basically
Picture of a clump of hair on the floor that
take
you
a few
referenced in your prior
brushes that
testimony.
you haven't cleaned
Objection.
in a while, and you just take the hair from the brush, there's probably enough hair that you can make this on the floor,
Yes.
in my opinion, eh?
Did you take
But I
it
might
off
be
your
wrong.
phone?
Also cut, yeah, it doesn't take a genius, you know, like some extensions or whatever, you
Yes.
know.
And before you took this photograph, did you move the hair in any way?
No.
Okay, so this picture is the clump of hair exactly as you found it, right?
Correct.
And when did you take this photograph?
When I was taking the other photographs,
And you didn't alter this photo in any way, correct?
I did not alter this photo.
Yeah, the evidence are really poor. That's always the thing, you know. The story never matches the
Photograph of a
pictures.
wooden platform bed which had a partially broken bed frame.
I do.
Yes, that's correct. I saw a
Did you
comment.
photograph the bed just as you found it?
Amber, she's a mother, but she
You didn't move anything off
the
of
pregnancy
the bed?
was carried out by a surrogate woman, a surrogate mother. So the embryo, to my understanding, or the egg was
the bed
carried
broken,
by
remember?
this other woman. So this other woman gave
It was
birth.
a platform bed, and the edge
Hey,
of
thank
the
you so much, Nock.
platform had like a long shard of wood off the corner. or,
No,
like, off the edge.
Elena, I realize. Sorry, Elena, I agree with you. I think that Rocky in this other
Where was the
deposition,
broken
she's
bed?
tired.
In which
She's
bedroom?
afraid of sleeping
4
because when you say a lot of BS,
Room?
you also have to remember
bedroom.
what you said. And when you already
So
said
the
something on
document
the road,
marked Pennington Exhibit 8,
you know,
Bates
you don't want to
Pennington
sleep.
5. Do you recognize this photograph, Ms. Pennington?
Yes.
Sorry, guys, I'm talking a little bit more also
Did
because
you take this photograph?
some of these we already know. They're
Yes.
saying nothing interesting and the volume is low, but
see that
I'll
on the
promise
left
I'll be a
side,
little bit quieter later on.
The mattress and the comforter.
Thank you,
There
Jessica.
appears to be something on the bed.
Is it possible to zoom in?
Sure.
Actually, May Wald, she's not a mother. In her case, was like order something from Amazon, but I hadn't had the chance to look
You
up
see in the
yet.
picture there appears to be something on the bed.
Did they use
Yes.
one of her egg,
Is this
and
something
they
that was
use
already
also
there when
sperm
you
from a
found the bed?
donor, and then they put the two
don't
inside
Remember seeing that before.
the surrogate mother,
It's not something
so
that you
that
put on the bed.
the surrogate mother gives birth, but there is amber DNA in the egg, right? So technically speaking, there is amber DNA in this kid or not. This is what I want to understand.
I believe you already testified that the next day Ms. Heard was going on the James Corden show, right?
Which testify? Which testification?
Today.
Oh, today. The next day, yes.
You were with Miss Heard when she was getting ready for the show at her apartment, true?
True.
And was this in Penthouse 3?
Hey, any Shilcock, sorry, this is also a commentary stream. There are other streams you can watch where maybe people don't talk at all, or just go on the Law and Crime channel, and you won't hear anybody commenting there.
Were there assisting Miss Heard getting ready?
Yes.
Who was Samantha?
Samantha is Johnny's stylist and was also doing styling for Amber.
And who is Melanie?
Amber's makeup artist.
And who is Adir?
Amber's hairstylist.
Thank you, guys.
Do you recall anybody else?
Thank you, Sage, for the super chat. Deeply appreciate.
Did you hear Miss Heard tell anyone of these people about her injuries?
I remember her showing the injuries.
To who?
Who did she show the injuries to?
She showed Melanie her lip and Adir the missing hair on her head.
No bruising on the face.
Ms. Pennington, I want to talk to you about Miss Heard's birthday in April of 2016.
Yeah, it could be GM, like it could be extensions.
Birthday dinner, you and Miss Heard and some other friends were scheduled to leave for Coachella the day after.
Yes.
So after the dinner, I know you attended the dinner, but after the dinner the next day, when you arrived to the penthouse, you noticed shattered glass on Miss Heard's bedroom floor.
Thank you, guys.
Correct.
What kind of glass was it?
I don't know.
Can you tell where it comes from?
I couldn't tell where it had come from.
Did you notice any other damage in the bedroom?
I believe there was a broken lamp.
Miss Heard had 2 dogs at the time, correct?
Thank you, Norm. Good morning, by the way.
At the time of this?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you recall where the dogs were when you were in the bedroom with Miss Heard on April 22nd, 2016?
In the bed.
Were you concerned about the dogs injuring themselves on the glass?
Yes.
Ciao,
Did you look
buongiorno.
upset?
When I arrived,
Yes.
she was asleep.
When she woke up, did she look upset to you?
Yes.
What made you think that she was upset or looked upset?
She started crying.
Now let's turn to the events of May 21, 2016. Okay. At some point, did Miss Heard tell you that Mr. Depp wanted to come to the penthouse to get some stuff on May 21st, 2016?
I don't remember what exact day she said that, but she said that.
I'll make the representation to you that we're talking about May 21st, 2016, when Miss Heard alleged that Mr. Depp threw a phone at her. So, do you recall knowing that Mr. Depp was planning to come by the Eastern Columbia building on or about May 21st, 2016 to collect some stuff?
I remember that she told me that he wanted to come over.
Do you remember who was at the penthouse before Mr. Depp?
Well, I can try to I can try to raise the volume. Let's see if it makes a difference. Just 1 second. Let's see.
When?
on May 21st, 2016. You were there, obviously, correct?
Yes.
Do you hear better
And
now?
Ms. Heard was there?
Yes.
Was Josh Drew there?
I really put everything at the max.
Yes.
Was Elizabeth Mars there?
Yes.
Were you preparing for a jewelry show the next day that you were doing, Ms. Pennington?
I was preparing.
Was anybody assisting you prepare for that show?
Yeah, then basically, I just basically increased the volume
Yes.
for me.
And you were in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016, preparing for that show?
We were in and out of Penthouse 5 and Penthouse 1.
Guys, a little patience. Probably later on this, audio file will change and the volume will be much louder again.
At some point, Ms. Heard left Penthouse 1 and Penthouse 5. And she went to Penthouse 3, correct? At some point that evening?
I can try also to recap what I hear.
Yes.
Sometime after Ms. Heard left to go back to Penthouse 3, you received a text message from her, correct?
I think somebody's
Yes.
probably doing
Do you
trying
remember where
just
you
to
were when you
divert.
received this message?
PH1, Penthouse 1.
Where was Mr. Drew?
With me in PH1.
And where was Miss Mars?
She was either with us in PH1 or in PH5.
And do you remember what you were doing when you received this message?
No.
I also hear
did you
it
do after you
alright.
received this message?
If you have headphones, it's better.
I went straight over to PH3.
Could you hear when you went straight over to page 3, Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard yelling?
Sorry, will you repeat just the beginning of the question? You broke up a bit.
When you went to Penthouse 3, could you hear Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard yelling?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were saying to each other?
No.
Do you recall the door being locked to Penthouse 3 when you got there?
The door was always locked.
Did you have a key?
Yes.
Did you use the key to open the door?
Yes.
I believe you previously testified that the penthouses 3, 4, and 5 were all connected. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so you can get from penthouse 5 to penthouse 3 without going out the main hallway. Is that right?
Correct.
Mostly talking about the house, how it was connected, the different
You entered
penthouses.
penthouse 3. Only Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were in the penthouse, right?
Yes.
Do you know where Mr. Depp was standing?
Yes.
Where was he?
In the living room.
What part of the living room?
The sort of like the entry, like the in between from the kitchen to the living room.
And where was Ms. Heard?
On the other side of the living room.
Was she by the couch?
Yes.
And were they approximately how far apart?
8 feet, 10 feet.
Wow.
And they were both standing when you first came in?
Yes.
What's the first thing you remember, Miss Pennington, when you entered the penthouse?
VGN live feed.
The first thing I remember was
VGN? Let's see.
just hearing them. I don't remember what they were saying, but it was a verbal argument and just hearing them. I don't remember what they were saying, but it was a verbal argument. And he continued to yell and...
Well, I don't know if I can show this though. I don't know if they block
then
me.
He continued to yell, and I went over to her and then stepped between him.
Where was Mr. Depp when you stepped between them?
The sofa is an L in the corner of the living room. The coffee table fit into the L shape. Amber was on the far side. Johnny was on the other side of the L, with the coffee table between them.
At some point, Mr. Depp's security team came in. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was Jerry Judge and Sean Beth?
Yes.
Where was Mr. Depp standing when they entered the apartment?
In the space between the living room and the kitchen.
And you were with Ms. Heard on the sofa?
Yes.
Mr. Depp eventually left penthouse 3 with his picture. Is that correct?
Eventually, yes.
Really taking forever for like...
And he left you and Ms. Heard in penthouse 3?
For like 20 questions. Taking forever.
Yes.
From the moment you entered house 3 until Mr. Depp left, did you see Mr. Depp touch Ms. Heard? What did you do after Mr. Depp left penthouse 3?
I'm right here, guys.
We took Amber to penthouse 1.
Is that where Mr. Drew and Miss Mars were?
I don't know where they were specifically. I don't know if they were in different places or which apartment they were in.
What did you do once you and Miss Heard got back to penthouse 1? She wanted her purse, so I asked Josh to go find her purse in PH3.
Hey.
Did you observe any property damage in any of the penthouses?
Yes.
What damage did you observe in penthouse 3?
Big damage.
He had smashed a bunch of the... On his way out, I saw this. On his way out, he had knocked over a bunch of items that were on the kitchen island, fruit baskets and bottles and things like that. That was the main damage in PH3.
Wow, that's actually interesting.
What damage did you see in PH5?
In PH5, there were photos that had been smashed off the wall, items that I had been working on the table that had been thrown against the wall. Yeah.
You also observed
my
injuries
God.
to Ms. Heard's face, correct?
Yes.
What did you see?
Her cheek was red and swelling.
Do you recall when you noticed her cheek?
No.
Would have been so nice to have a picture.
You didn't see
Raquel?
how this occurred, right?
I didn't see.
At some point, 2 police officers arrived. Is that correct?
At 2 points, 2 police officers arrived.
Before the first set of police officers showed up, had you cleaned up any of the damage in penthouse 3 or 5?
I don't remember.
Where were you when the police officers arrived? The first set?
PH3.
Did you see Ms. Heard speak to the officer? The first set.
Yes.
Did you see the officers enter penthouse 3?
Yes.
They look around penthouse 3?
Yes.
Did they enter penthouse 5, the first set of police officers?
I'm not sure.
Is it your testimony, Ms. Pennington, that the first set of police officers saw the damage you allege Mr. Depp caused in penthouse?
I don't know what they saw, but there was damage there.
And another set of 2 officers came later in that night. Is that correct?
Correct.
Between the first set of officers leaving and the second set of officers arriving, how much time had passed?
Good afternoon, guys. She's exhausted.
I don't
already.
remember exactly.
Do you have an approximation of how much time had passed? An hour or 2? Less than that?
Less than 3.
3 hours? Less than 3 hours?
Less than 3.
In this time, do you recall cleaning up any of the damage to penthouse 3 or 5?
I don't recall.
Do you recall Ms. Heard speaking with either of the second set of officers?
No, I don't remember if she did or not.
Did these officers, the second set, look around penthouse 3?
I can't guess, so I don't know.
Ms. Pennington, have you ever personally witnessed Mr. Depp physically attack Ms. Heard?
Yeah, can you be specific to physically attacked?
Did you ever witness Mr. strike Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp throw anything at Ms. Heard?
I never witnessed him throw anything at her, around her, yes.
The question is,
Wow.
did you ever witness Mr. Depp throw anything at Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp kick Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp physically injure or cause her an injury?
I didn't see it.
So that's a no, right?
I didn't see it.
Your Honor, at this point, I start asking Ms. Pennington some questions, so we'll play that, but maybe we just approach to just get straight on some exhibits, please.
Okay.
I just want to see if the other one. I just want to see if the other stream just want to see if this other stream the volume came back. Because I prefer not to use this news stream. Oh, they even put music, huh? How about that? Well, actually, I have to say, I think that so far, the Raquel deposition here by video might have helped more Johnny than we think, eh? Because to me at least, from what I understand, the key questions about whether or not you claim somebody's violent and that this violence took place very often, yet those people literally living in the house, which they're all connected, even if it's a big floor. This woman has never seen this guy having a physical altercation with his ex-wife. So, and this is supposed to be a friend of hers, so it's actually quite interesting. Yeah, Rottenborn. I mean, how the freak do you call yourself Rottenborn as a surname? I mean, I would literally go to the city hall and go like, hey, listen, we gotta fix this.
Thank you, Your Honor. Are we ready to start?
Yes, sir.
Let's see if the audio is bad or good, otherwise we switch again to the other one.
Now, I understand that you've testified a number of times about some of the events that we touched on yesterday, right?
Yes.
Has there ever been anything in any of those prior sworn statements or testimony that you've given that has prevented you from telling the truth?
No.
And
Hey, wait,
is
it's not
all of your
showing.
prior sworn testimony, including the testimony you gave yesterday, true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Strange.
Yes.
We got two different feeds.
Are you here today on behalf of one side or the other? And by that I mean on behalf of Amber or on behalf of Johnny?
No.
Are you, would you consider yourself adverse or on behalf of Johnny to either party?
Okay, we're gonna try on the other side. Seems like the other side is still louder.
Party?
No.
Any other time that you can remember?
Not specifically, no.
Was there a name for what you describe as Mr. Depp's different self?
Yes.
What was that name?
We called it the monster.
Who is
BS.
All of us. Me, Johnny, Amber, and anyone else in the inner circle that was privy to the private things that would happen.
How do you know that Johnny called it the monster?
He named it that.
You heard him refer to this other version of himself as the monster directly?
Either heard or saw it written in a text.
Do you receive texts from Mr. Depp referring to this other version of himself as the monster?
I can't remember specifically any of them.
But you do recall hearing or reading Mr. Depp directly referring to himself as the monster?
Yes.
Just a second.
And why did you do that?
She asked for my help.
And over the course of your relationship, when Amber needed your help, you tried to be there for her, right?
Yes.
What do you mean by scary?
I was scared for Amber. I was sad for her, and I was also sad for Johnny. Because he is my friend, too. And I really wanted them to be able to get it together.
Why were you scared for Amber?
It could be very unpredictable. And she didn't have a lot of self-preservation.
What specifically, what type of harm were you worried about for Amber?
In the beginning, I wasn't worried. Towards the end, when the physical abuse was more evident, I was worried. I was worried for her physical safety. I was worried that when he turned, he might accidentally do something that was worse than he ever intended.
When you say, talk about abuse, is this signs of abuse that you personally observed?
Can you explain what you mean specifically by that?
Did you observe physical effects on Amber of that abuse?
Yes.
You testified a little bit yesterday about an incident between Johnny and Amber that took place in Hicksville. You remember that?
Yes.
Tell me as best you can everything that you remember about that.
We were sitting around the campfire. I don't remember who the larger group was. And Amber and Kelly Sue were sitting on a chair together, hugging. And Johnny came up and said, "Get your hands off my woman." And it was surprising because it was a very benign, two friends sitting on the same chair, hanging out. And it was also surprising because Johnny had been hanging out with everybody in a friendly way, and a switch flipped when that happened. And Amber got up, went to go comfort Johnny, and then they went back to their trailer.
How would you describe Johnny's tone when he said, "Get off my woman"?
At first, I thought it was a joke. I thought he was kidding because it was so unexpected from the way that the rest of the night had been going. And then at some point, I think Amber realized that it was not a joke and got up to diffuse the situation.
Did you perceive Kelly Sue to be acting inappropriately in any way toward Miss Heard?
No.
Had you seen when you said a switch flipped in Mr. Depp? That was your testimony, right?
Just now?
Yeah, just now.
Yeah.
Was it surprising to you to see?
No.
And why not?
He switched sometimes.
And what do you mean by that when you say he switched?
Johnny would be acting
Coffee.
like his wonderful
This is BS
self
anyway.
for a certain portion of an occasion where people were hanging out, or sometimes just privately at home. And I never knew what caused it. The switch would happen to where he would either disappear or go somewhere off by himself, or his mood would change to something darker. And yeah.
Rottenborn
should play a lawyer in a movie. Probably it's
what
a
do you
better
recall,
career.
And we'll get to specific incidents in a little bit, but when you say his mood would change to something darker, do you remember any specific examples of times that you witnessed when his mood changed to something darker?
I can't remember at this moment specific times when it would happen. Generally, he would go away from where the rest of the people were. Amber would follow to comfort. Sometimes they wouldn't come back, sometimes they would.
Okay. And tell us about the next morning at Hicksville, what you saw and observed.
I went to the trailer to go knock on the door. I think they had already left, though. I went in and saw the disarray.
Describe the disarray as best you can.
Thank you, Sherry.
Like I said yesterday, the light fixtures had been knocked off. Things were strewn about the trailer, cushions off the couch bank.
Over the course of you've known Miss Heard since 2003, right?
Yes.
Have you ever known her to knock light fixtures off a wall?
No.
Have you ever known her to throw pillows and cushions off couches?
No.
Have you ever known her to get in a rage and destroy property?
No.
Have you ever known her to threaten someone's life?
No.
What did Amber tell you? Did you ever have a conversation with Miss Heard about what happened in that trailer in Hicksville?
Yes.
I'd like to fast forward a little bit in time, Ms. Pennington, to and an episode that we talked about yesterday to some extent. Do you remember being with Amber after something that happened the day before she went on the James Corden show in December 2015?
Yes.
Pictures, please. Pictures, please.
What do you remember? And I know this is painful and emotional, but give me your best recollection
please,
of
don't lead with I know it's
what you recall from that time period.
From the night before?
Were you with Amber the night before the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
And were you with her the day of the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
And did you observe Miss Heard and Miss Heard's residence the day before the James Corden appearance and the day of the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
So with that, tell me everything that you can remember, starting with the day before.
Oh my
and
God.
I may interrupt you and ask you to clarify certain things, but that's everything to remember.
Yeah, that's exactly my feeling.
So
She can answer 3 questions. You want to know everything.
she asked me to come over to her residence, PH3 or PH5. I don't remember which one I entered. And she was very upset. Her face was red, swollen. The hair had been ripped out of her head. I went through all of the penthouses. She didn't cancel. I don't think I even slept that night watching her just to make sure she didn't.
It's so funny because
Is that because you were worried she had a concussion?
the crying doesn't match also.
Yes.
Why did you tell her that you were going to go take pictures throughout the penthouses?
Why wouldn't I?
I think it's something else that is making her cry, honestly. Like a different
Pennington, I'm
memory
gonna,
or more memories.
You saw a few selected pictures yesterday. I'm gonna show you a number of pictures today that we need to go through, and I'll ask you some questions about them. Okay?
Oh man,
Are you able
Rottenborn.
to see Exhibit 15?
Yeah, I can see it. Can you, Miss Pennington?
Yes.
Again, this picture? Seriously?
Miss Pennington, does this picture truly and accurately depict Miss Heard's appearance on December 2015 during the night that you just discussed?
Yes.
The fascinating thing is that the color
Do you
is
know
just
whether or not you took this picture?
I do not.
yeah, because you didn't. That's a
That you were
selfie.
with Miss Heard that evening after the incident?
I was.
What room was this taken in?
This is the bathroom of Johnny and Amber's bedroom in PH3.
What amazes me the most is that there is no swelling.
What injuries, if any, do you observe on Miss Heard in this picture?
Her right eye has a mark and a bruise. Her nose is swollen. There's bruising on her left eye as well.
And Exhibit 16 is up.
What is this picture of Miss Pennington?
There's a picture of Amber's face. with bruising and a mark on her right eye, swelling on her nose, bruising on the left eye.
Are we watching the same pictures?
In the same bathroom.
Because I don't see the
And
swelling.
when was this picture taken?
I assume the same night.
Is that the night in December 2015 that you've been testifying about for the last few minutes?
Yeah.
Do you see behind Miss Heard's left ear? There's a picture on the wall, and then a writing a note above the picture.
Yes.
What is that note signed?
You're Steve,
tell.
come on.
Steve.
To your understanding, who is Steve?
Johnny Depp, I answer for you. Come on, we do faster. Please.
And what does it say right above that?
It says, "You're Steve."
What's the line above that say?
I pay for everything in here. That should be the line. You're Steve.
Eternally? Something, always, up, 3 exclamation points. Love you eternally, you're Steve.
And Steve, in that note, refers to the same man that you understood to have inflicted these injuries on Miss Heard, correct?
Yes.
And does this picture truly and accurately reflect what you observed on Miss Heard in that night in December 2015?
Partially.
When you said partially, what do you mean by that?
You can't see the rest of the injuries.
So
What other injuries
convenient.
are you referring to?
So convenient. So convenient.
The hair being pulled out.
Exhibit 17 is up.
Oh my God, we're tired of these pictures. Look at that.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Amber's face
With no swelling.
turned at a slight profile with a bruise on her eye, swelling on her nose.
Look at under her
And,
eyes. Actually, she has like a
When
canal.
was this picture taken?
She literally has a canal under the eye. Like
Appears
that's
to
the
be the
first part
same
that gets swollen,
Night. Same moment
and
of the
there's
previous
literally a
2
canal
pictures.
there.
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict,
Oh my
at
God.
least in part, Miss Heard's appearance on that night?
Yes.
Exhibit 18 is up.
What is this document, Miss Pennington?
It's a
That's in
photo
the doc-
of Amber's face.
She went to the well. Actually,
Two black eyes
she went to a better school of crying.
and swollen bottom lip.
Also with the lip, they do the
you
same
take this
weird
photo?
lip thing.
I don't remember.
You said a swollen nose.
Yes.
She has literally, like you said, dark circle around the eyes, with no swelling. If you get
Does
hit,
this picture fairly and accurately depict, at least in part, Miss Heard's appearance on that night in December 15, 2015?
Yes.
oh man.
Did you take pictures of Miss Heard that night?
Yes.
Can we see them? Can we see more pictures,
You believe
Mrs.
that
Raquel?
you took this picture?
I don't know.
But in any event, it accurately reflects what Miss Heard's appearance from that evening.
Yes.
Exhibit 19 is up.
Oh my God, I'm tired of seeing the same pictures everywhere. Look at that. That nose is perfect.
And I'm sorry this is so hard, Miss Pennington.
Please, Rottenborn, just
We just
go.
need to get through
Yeah.
the best we can. What is this picture?
Just go down the city hall.
This is Amber's face. Turn a profile. Showing more of her bottom bloody lip and her right bruised eye.
And what night does this, or when does this show Amber?
Rottenborn.
It appears to be the same night and the same series of photos as before.
Where was this picture taken, if you know?
And, it's in the bedroom, facing she's sitting on the bed and it's facing the windows.
Was anyone with you and Amber that night after you came over?
Oh my God, Rottenborn. Garbage disposal. It's a more dignifying job for you. Trust me.
So
See if
is
there
it
is
fair to
a
assume that either you or Amber
space
took this
available
picture?
for you.
Yes.
Does it look like Miss Heard took this picture?
No.
Do you recall taking this picture?
I took a lot of pictures. It would be... Yes.
Does Miss Heard's lower lip look like it's just chapped?
No, it does not.
Does it look like she just has a cold sore?
It does not look like a cold sore.
Exhibit 20 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Oh, this is the injury of yesterday.
This is a picture of Amber's hairline.
The
A
other-
scratch injury on the hairline and my thumb.
Okay, they went to the
holding
same
hair
school.
back so that you can see it.
The injury.
Does this picture depict marks that you saw on Amber on the night in December 2015 that we've been discussing?
Or the next morning.
One or the other?
Yes.
And Lucas, if you could just go back really quickly to the last picture, please.
Rottenborn.
Pennington 19. I may have asked you this, Ms. Pennington, but I just want to make clear for the record. Does this picture fairly and accurately depict Ms. Heard's appearance on that night in December 15, 2015 that we've been discussing?
Yes.
Exhibit 21 is up.
There is literally nothing on the nose of that woman. Nothing.
What is this a picture of? Ms.
Oh
Pennington?
my God! Look, there's another injury there. The pimple.
This is a
Look at
close-up
that pimple.
picture of the side of
They
Amber's
forgot that
nose
injury.
and mouth.
Oh my God!
She has
Did you take? Go ahead. Go ahead.
She has a swelling and an injury on her bottom lip.
Are there any other injuries you observe in this picture?
And see, you can see at the top of the photo, bruising on her eye and the small mark underneath her.
Are we watching the same
They're bottom
picture?
eyelid.
Are we watching the same pictures?
Did Miss Heard? Did she typically have that small mark underneath her eye or bruising around her eyes?
She did not usually have that small mark or bruising underneath her eyes.
Did she
All
typically
things
have
French.
injuries
Thank you
to
so
her
much.
lip?
Sometimes.
Oh my
And
God!
over the course of your friendship with Miss Heard during the time that she was in a relationship with Mr. Depp, how often would you all communicate?
Oh my God!
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Hey.
During the time that Miss Heard was in a relationship with Mr. Depp, how often would you communicate with Miss Heard? Like every day?
When she was filming, less. When she was home, all the time.
And you just testified, I believe it wasn't the only incident in which you observed injuries to Miss Heard's face or lips, correct?
You know,
Correct.
Were there any other times that you observed injuries to Miss Heard's face or lips?
no. You know, if we don't
Yes.
see the
22%.
metadata of
What is
those
this a
pictures,
picture of, Miss Pennington?
Picture is hair pulled back to show the abrasion on the scalp where hair has been removed.
Whose head is that?
That's Amber's head.
if we cannot
Was this- do you know
verify
when this
the
picture was taken?
metadata, Rottenborn,
Either
shut
the
up.
night of the event or the next day.
And by event, you're referring to the event in December of 2015 that we've been talking about?
Yes.
Do you recall taking this picture, Miss Pennington, of Miss Heard's scalp?
Yes.
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict the top of Miss Heard's scalp?
We don't
During
know.
the day of or at the day after the December 2015 incident that you've been giving testimony about?
Rottenborn,
Yes.
let me speak.
Exhibit 23 is up.
Some of this stuff, all those little marks, can also be
What is this a
self-inflicted,
picture of, Miss Pennington?
because they're not
There's
that big of a
picture
deal.
of a clump
Literally,
of
you
Amber's
scratch a
hair
little bit your eyes,
on
you get
the
some
black
something, you know.
carpet in the bedroom of PH4 with my finger there to
Thank you, Louis.
show the scale of the hair.
Did you take this picture?
Yes.
When did you take this picture?
I really would love to see the metadata of those
It
pictures,
is a
if it's
night of the
possible.
event. The night of the event, the December, the occurrence that we've been talking about.
In December of 2015?
Yes.
And how did you know that that was Amber's hair?
Hair had been ripped out of her head. This is the color of her hair. It's her home.
Mamma mia. Raghe, yeah. Forza. Like, you can do it. Like,
And this, you said, was in the bedroom of Penthouse 5?
4.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to pull out clumps of her own hair?
No.
Miss Heard ever paint on bruises or use makeup to make it appear as if she had a bruise when in fact she didn't? To your knowledge?
No, the opposite.
What do you mean when you say the opposite?
She often had to cover bruises and injuries on her face with makeup.
Did you see her cover bruises on her face with makeup?
oh, look at Amber, look at
Yes.
Amber. She's doing the,
Can we
doing
pull
the
up,
cry thing. Look at
the
that.
document titled December 2015 ALH 28_B, please. What is this picture, Miss Pennington?
Is a picture of Amber. She has a small mark underneath her right eye. She has her coat and her shirt on. They're in the kitchen.
Objection, that's
She's
an
in the
injury.
kitchen of PH3.
Oh, wow. This makes her cry. This makes her cry. Remembering
Do you know
the vodka bottle
when or
in
approximately when
Australia,
this picture was taken?
that caused No feeling whatsoever. This makes her cry. I don't know, I'm just confused.
The day following the December event or the day after, maybe. I don't know exactly when.
And did you take this picture?
I don't know.
Does it fairly and accurately depict Amber's appearance on the day you described?
On one of the days following, yes.
Exhibit 25 is up.
But you know, the great thing is that we know that there are
Do you know what this is
pictures
a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
of the James Corden show the day
This
after,
is a picture
and
of
doesn't matter the makeup, she looked perfect. You know,
the
there is
nightstand
no
on the
way
right side of the bed.
she had
in
had
Johnny and
any
Amber's
injury the day
bedroom.
before. No way. You know.
In PH3, it has a lamp that's fallen down, a book of rolling papers, half a lemon, a plastic coffee mug of Infinitum Nihil, which is Johnny's production company, a bottle of Tums, a bottle of tea, broken glass, and a small blue book.
The funny thing is that that cup is also in her house,
I can't make out
and
what that
it
is.
seems like probably it's her cup.
Did you ever know Amber to break glass next to her bed?
Who does that?
No.
Who does that? Rottenborn. Huh? What are you trying to say?
What's your knowledge about
Normal people don't
Mr.
smash
Depp's
glasses around the house.
tendency to
Usually.
break
Even
things made of glass?
narcissists.
My knowledge is that I saw him do it once, and that I saw the aftermath of him breaking glass many times.
And on that evening in December 2015, did you see that we've been discussing? Did you see broken glass around the residence?
Yes.
Oh, I have to say, Rottenborn is good
Let's
at.
go to the next picture. December 2015, ALH _ 509 _ B.
He's really good at
You've seen
leading.
this picture before. What's this a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
This is a picture of the platform bed in the bedroom of penthouse 4. The edge of the platform bed has a shard of wood that has broken off onto the floor.
Did you take this picture?
Yes.
When did you take it?
I have so many questions. I have so many questions for
Either
this.
the night of the event or the next day.
And when you say event, are you referring to, what are you referring to?
The December 15th event that we've been speaking about.
You said December 15th. You mean December 2015?
Yes, sorry, 2015.
Where is this bed in the residence?
This is in the penthouse 4. It's the middle penthouse between the main residence, PH3, Amber's closet, PH5. This is the one of the rooms that you walk through to get to go through the upper story of the homes.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to destroy a bed frame?
No.
Have you ever known? Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to destroy furniture generally?
Who does that? Rottenborn.
Ms.
Normally.
Pennington,
Who does that?
in all the photos that you have taken of evidence or incidents or the aftermath of incidents between Amber and Johnny, have you ever done anything to alter those photos or, make them appear to depict something that wasn't actually there or wasn't actually real?
Leading.
No.
I want to talk about the day of the Late Late Show. When I say that, do you understand I'm referring to Amber's appearance on the James Corden show?
Yes.
The Late Late Show with James Corden. Were you with Amber when she got ready for her appearance on that show?
Yes.
Who else was present?
A dear that who's her hairstylist, Melanie, her makeup artist, and Samantha, her stylist.
Were you there when her hair and makeup was being styled or put on before her appearance on James Corden?
Yes.
Didn't the makeup artist...
Did you see anyone paint on a wound on her lip or put makeup on her face to make it appear that there was a wound on her lip?
Yeah.
Did you observe anyone ripping clumps of her hair out of her head?
No.
Ms. Pennington, did you...
oh, good Lord.
Did you... to the extent that it's alleged that Miss Heard had no injuries when she went on the James Corden show, what is your reaction to that?
My reaction is that that is a false assessment or statement.
And what's the basis for that testimony?
Because I saw injuries on her body from the time directly after they happened throughout the next night, the next day, and as they continued to heal.
Yet we see her on the show.
In the time that you spent with Johnny, did he ever express a similar sentiment that he was screw up or fuck up, in his words?
Yes.
And what did you tell me what you can remember about the instances when he said that and what your understanding was of what he meant?
My understanding was that he...
Thank you, Monica.
...was sorry and apologetic and...
For what?
For his behavior.
Yeah.
When you say behavior, what are you referring to?
Verbal arguments, physical arguments.
Wow.
And that was what he made clear to you in things that he said to you. Is that right?
What he made clear to me in our conversations was that he was very sorry and that he was working to get clean and get better, and that he was asking for forgiveness and trying to...
Those are two different things, though. Wanting to be clean and actually being violent.
Think that he was going to get better.
Completely two different things.
Did you ever see him get better?
Yeah.
It's funny because Amber Heard, I think, she
When?
copies the lip thing from her friend.
A lot of times.
But did you ever see him get better permanently?
No.
Your Honor, at this point, we start questioning Ms. Pennington about May 21st. We're happy to keep going, but if you wanted to take a break, I think we're about halfway through this volume.
Okay, let's go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes. Again, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay?
Rottenborn. Oh, man. such a bunch of BS, honestly. It's the same person, the only person. Like those two friends, basically. Okay, let me switch to the
Let's just come
other.
back at 11 o'clock then, okay?
Thank
All
you,
right.
Let me switch to the other one. Where are we here? Let me switch to this one. So, honestly, you know, I don't even know why she was crying that bad, you know? Like, we all know what we know in terms of what is available that everybody can see under the sky. She's at the show the day after, and she looks pretty great. Those pictures that we have seen, we don't have metadata. We don't know exactly where they were taken. I don't know if they actually offered the metadata. We don't know. I have no idea. And even if I want to agree that there is some kind of discoloration or coloration of something that could be like a bruise or whatever, I definitely do not see the blunt effect of a headbutt or like many punches in the face, because keep in mind that the event which follows into the picture, basically the event which has caused the picture to be taken, so to speak, right, was described as her being punched numerous times, not just once, numerous times, even with the cast, which JD at this soft cast, whatever, because he if I understand correctly, he hurt himself. I think that was the time. If I'm wrong, call me out, but this is what I think I understand. And so, you know, would have been quite traumatic to have all those injuries. And definitely also, if you are hit in the face, like, this part is so tender, man. This part is so tender. Like, the first thing that is going to happen is really like this part is going to bulge out if you got hit like several times in the face, in the cheeks, or in the eye, you know, like. And if you have a headbutt, it's gonna like bruise, and the bruise is gonna get all black, but way more black and purple, you know? Like what she showed there, like, and this can be asked even for like an expert in bruises or whatever, like a doctor. What she shows in the pictures shows somebody that actually it's at the let's say at the very end of a traumatic hit. You know what I mean? Like maybe after 2 weeks, you know, that everything is past, or maybe more, that you have maybe some little residue or whatever. But, you know, like blue spots, they don't work that way. You know, once you hit right away, like few hours or just almost instantly, you're going to have swelling, which is going to be pronounced, and it's going to be like, you know, like sort of like bloodshot. And it's going to stay there for a good amount of time. There is no ice that is going to take away the swelling, like you just woke up like fresh, you know? So I don't know what they're going on about with those pictures, because you see her at the show, she has no pain. Like if you have a split lip, you know, whatever, and like some kind of wound somewhere, like you move or whatever, you're going to feel uncomfortable. She seems like at the show pretty good. You can say she's an actress. She knows how to, you know, swallow it and no pun intended, and carry on, you know, swallow the pain and carry on. That's what I meant. Don't misquote me. But yeah, it's obvious that it's pretty messed up. I don't know why they keep going on. Like really, they are like climbing mirrors, you know, like they really hang onto those couple of pictures, which they are like imaginative at best, you know, and they do not depict, not even close, the claims that have been described, you know, not even close, not even from far. Like I really don't know what they're going on about, honestly. You know, the Don't Recall show pictures are there. She looks freaking pristine. Like she was just born that way, you know? Like the James Gordon show, she looked absolutely pristine. not a sign of a swelling nowhere, not even tiny bit of swelling, you know? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I would love to make a video talking also what I've learned about this, but so far what I've learned is that, you know, people forget that despite being a narcissist or whatever and this and that, some people just have a more criminal mind, you know? And maybe that's because they have those conditions which you can diagnose one or two things to somebody that leans towards being a little criminal, so to speak. There are people which have no problem in fabricating shit for the sake of you know, making a point or for the sake of winning. Especially when now it's too late to go back. You can't go back now, so you have to keep going because it will be even worse. But yeah, same two people saying, like, you know, the same two people, the same friend, like going on about the same stuff, and then everybody else that it's been testifying, whether working or not working for Johnny, I say the opposite. So yeah, I mean, go figure, right? I wish I started watching this thing. Now I don't remember what Dr. Keeper said when he testified, but yeah, really, I don't understand. Like, I'm not saying that what they're talking about to a degree isn't true. For instance, like that Johnny said that he wanted to get clean, that he might refer to himself as the monster, but you have to contextualize those words. It might mean very different things, but you know, from those words used by people like Rottenborn can be contextualized completely in a different manner. So maybe the guy Johnny wanted to get cleaner because, you know, to be like indulging in self-medicating through recreational, like prescribed drugs or more, or hard drugs. It's, you know, it's not exactly a great lifestyle. Even for some people can be fun, I suppose. It's definitely not a great lifestyle, at least also on your health. So it could be totally fine that a person is trying hard to sober themselves up, but that does not mean that they're violent, going like in a black outrage and punching people randomly, you know? So yeah, I mean, nobody believes that stuff. Just people don't believe it. We see it. We don't believe what we're seeing. I actually received yesterday, but I was told that I could use those pictures, but I don't think it's a sensitive thing to do. I think one viewer sent me pictures of actually her, like she took picture of when she had been abused, probably by the boyfriend or husband. And I have to be honest, you know, I saw those pictures and I'm like, whoa, I can't show you. I can show this. I cannot show you, you know, this. I will be like in a sort of like a educational manner, interesting to show, but I can't. But I can tell you that they were way different than what I've seen here. Like, you know, Amber being a little bit blushed on the cheeks, you know. I saw those pictures of this viewer, and she literally had like bloodshot eyes with like swelling full of blood under the eye, like bulging like this, like as if it was exploding, like cut on the nose, like bruises on the arm, which they're blue, red, and yellow, like from different moments of, you know, like healing. I mean, that's quite a difference, you know, and we haven't seen none of this, of course, because that's not how it works, unfortunately, you know. She just makes up stuff. I think those people, they're like sleazy. They were younger. They were very ambitious, with a hint of criminal mind, and they saw the opportunity, fueled by personality conditions, and then you have a nice cocktail of a disaster ready to happen. That's what it is. That's it. That's it. I'm tired of saying this, but this is it. This trial should have ended already like 3 weeks ago. It's a setup. We can go on and on and on and on about why this is fake, why Johnny's not. It's already well over and over and over realized by everybody that through audios, through us simply observing the two people on the stand, and so on and so forth, by the lack of evidence, by the convenience of just producing certain evidence and other evidence which will be like absolutely like final to make us believe in the case of Amber Heard. They just don't exist. They just don't exist. The incidents in Australia is an example. Like literally a rape scene took place there. If you listen to her words, right? And quite a violent one. And yet the only pictures taken are like the mirror with some scribbling on top, and not of her. Like Camille yesterday, she made a great point when she said, like, you took pictures of the mirror, but we don't see yourself in it the day after you allege that you've basically been like reduced to a pulp by the man that And I'm just tired of this, honestly, because it's total sense. Like you had the time and the wit and the patience and whatever to make pictures of the freaking mirror with some scribbling on top. You also had time to answer those scribbling, because that's what it is. It's not Johnny Depp answering him back and forth like Camille said yesterday, which is also super brilliant. You had time to reply with the red lipstick, but you had no time. No time. You even, thank God, we actually have the audio that you left the phone on the stand downstairs, and we hear the security, the doctor, the nurse, and that's how we know that nothing happened. We hear you stomping around in high heels. All evidence that we can hear, but there are no pictures of those injuries. Please, just let's call it a quit. We even forgive you to an extent. Like, okay, please seek for medical attention, seek for medical help. Try to make your life better. You have a kid. Try to work on yourself. Try to work with whatever they can do to make you realize that, you're kind of a mess of a sociopath or whatever. I don't want to diagnose anyone, but, let's call it a quit. Let's forget about the money, everything. Like, just move on. Try to be a better mother. Let's forget about this BS, because it's total BS, And I'm not even saying that scuffing in between two people which tend to be like feisty and fiery hasn't happened, But again, contextualization, it's very important. If she's super feisty, which it seems she is, and she's quick at pushing and grabbing and squeezing and throwing some slaps, and then Johnny's caught up in this, he might get also a little bit more physical, and people get physical in that. And how do you describe that afterwards, you can use that against one, you can use that either way, one against the other, depending on who is telling the story. But you can also magnify something that it's not there to make it more dramatic, just for the sake to get your point across, which is, you want to be depicted by the virtuous victim, and in doing so, you ruin somebody else. Well, there was a pause, guy. That's why I was talking. All right, guys, just a second. It's starting. I'll take just a second break and come back, but this is on, right? Okay, the volume is off here. I don't think we need to use this any longer, but we just keep it there. All right, the volume is up. Just a second. I'll see you in a sec.
The jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, you can be seated. You want to continue with your witness?
Yes, we'll resume with the testimony of Raquel Pennington, Your
All
Honor.
right, thank you.
I want to talk about the events of May 21st, 2016. Do you remember that night, Ms. Pennington?
Why is she crying so bad?
Yes.
Walk us through what you recall about the evening of May 21st, 2016.
So, in PH5,
Oh, it's loud now.
I was getting things ready for a artist craft show that I had, and making jewelry, and my friend Liz was there, Josh was there, Amber was helping. We were set up in the downstairs living room of PH5. And
Liz Mars?
Liz Mars, yes.
Okay. And your fiance, Joshua Drew, is that right?
Yes. And at some point, Amber got a message from Johnny that said that he wanted to come over and talk or pick something up. I don't remember what the exact message was. And I thought it was a really bad idea, but can't stop somebody from coming over to their own home. And so Amber went upstairs to get ready for him to come over. And eventually he showed up. I didn't see him show up. I didn't hear him show up. He went to PH3 and then at some point I got a text from her, or I might have checked in, or I got a text from her that said, come over. So I tried to come over there and the door was locked. Their front door was locked. So I went to go get my key. I had a master key to all of the apartments. And I came back, unlocked the door, and he was yelling, and I don't remember exactly what he was saying. And she was calling for help, and that had never happened before, saying, help me. I went and I cut through the space between the coffee table and the sofa. And I went up to him, and he was yelling and yelling, and I put my hands up on his chest, and I was like, stop, just trying to calm him down. And he hit my hands away, and so I just went straight over to Amber. She sat down on the couch, she was crying, and I just put my body over her, and he came a little bit closer to us, and he was yelling at her to like get up, or I don't know, quit crying or get up or something. And it was really loud, and he was getting closer and closer. And I remember thinking there was this like big orange ceramic ashtray on the coffee table. And I was thinking, if he gets any closer, I'm just gonna pick up that ashtray and like hit him with it, because he was so close over us. And then at that point, Jerry and Sean came in from the front door of PH3 and came in, and they were like, boss, come on, let's get out of here. And Jerry always called him boss. He's like, boss, come on, boss, let's go. And then Johnny grabbed like his leather bag off the stool that was by the island, and he had a big magnum bottle of wine, and he was just like smashing stuff off the island and yelling. I don't remember exactly what he was saying. And then they finally left, and I could hear out in the hall just like banging and smashing and clattering around. I was just holding Amber, sort of just waiting for it to pass and clear. Until a little bit later, and then I think Josh came in.
Why did you get between and put your hands on Mr. Depp and get between him and Miss Heard?
I just thought I could calm him down.
And when he hit your hands away and then you went and laid on her, why did you do that?
It was the thing to do.
How would you describe Mr. Depp's mood?
Irate.
Were you afraid that Mr. Depp was going to hurt Miss Heard?
Yes.
And when he stood over you, you testified a little bit to it, but describe what he was yelling as he stood over the couch.
I don't remember everything that he said. The thing that sticks out the most is that he was just yelling at her to get up. To get the fuck up.
Did you let her?
No.
So interesting, because every time that there is their lawyer talking.
And where were you, just to be
both
clear, where
crying
were
all
you
the
when
time.
you received the message from Amber asking you to come over to Penthouse 3?
In either P5, PH5, or PH1.
You weren't already in Penthouse 3 when you got that text?
No.
To the extent that there are allegations that you were lying in wait in Penthouse 3 before Johnny walked into that penthouse, how do you respond to those?
That is not true.
I will also represent to you, Ms. Pennington, that Mr. Depp's lawyer has been quoted as saying, quote, Amber Heard and her friend Rocky Pennington staged the May 21 crime scene to prove the abuse allegation against Johnny Depp.
That's true.
Is that statement true?
Most likely.
No.
Did you stage anything about May 21st, 2016?
No.
Did Amber stage anything, to your knowledge, about May 21st, 2016?
No.
Describe for us the damage that you observed Mr. Depp cause to the penthouses, to Penthouse 3.
In 3, stuff had been knocked off the kitchen counter. Stuff had been knocked off a bar cart.
Sick of those people.
By whom?
By Johnny. I saw this happen on his way out. He was
With
smashing
his-
stuff
With what?
with a wine bottle.
What other
It-
damage can you remember Mr. Depp causing?
In the hallway, there was wine splash spilled in the hallway. There was a dent on the outside of PH1's door, front door. And then in PH5, where we had been getting stuff ready for my craft fair, my jewelry and materials had been thrown against the wall, and everything that was on the table was
Man, those people are fun.
like strewn off of the table, thrown down.
I'd like to go through with you some photographs of the incident that we talked about. So can you pull up May 21st, 2016, ALH 7051, please? And while he's pulling that up, Ms. Pennington, did you or either yourself or anyone else take photographs in the aftermath of this incident?
Yes.
Who took photographs?
Josh Drew. That's the only person that I can say for sure.
Were you with Mr. Drew when he was taking photographs?
I can't remember.
Did you go through the penthouses to see where the damage has been done?
Eventually.
Ms. Pennington, what is this a picture of, if you know?
This is a picture of the living room in PH5 with the back corner of the sofa. It has the beads that I had been working on and the stand that I used to display them thrown to the wall. Some of the beads are on the windowsill. The stand is broken.
And did you, does this fairly and accurately reflect damage that you saw to Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016?
Look at the damage, man.
Yes.
Exhibit 30 is up.
Look at the damage. Some beads
What is this a picture of, if
on
you
a
know?
couch.
This is a picture of the Johnny and Amber's bedroom bed in PH3. It has several photos, framed photos, stacked on it.
And do those photos appear to be intact?
These do, yes.
In your experience, did those photos normally sit on the bed?
No.
Yeah.
Does this, did you witness, well, was this part of the aftermath of what Mr. Depp did in
Rottenborn,
Penthouse
no.
3?
Why you don't ask her
I
like
didn't
what you
see
were
him
gonna
take them
ask?
down,
Eh?
but
Ask
they
her
were
if
not
she saw
down
Johnny put that on the
before he
bed or
came
not, eh?
Does it fairly and accurately depict
Rottenborn slipped
what
on
you
his own
witnessed
techniques.
the night of May 21st, 2016?
I didn't see this happen, but I did see this scenario.
Aha, you see?
You saw the pictures. That's my question. Does this fairly and accurately depict something that you personally saw on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
All right, let's pull up 7053, please. So my question, Ms. Pennington, will be, what is this a picture of?
Rottenborn.
Can the info thing move off to the side?
You know, no, I don't. Not in this version of the pictures. So I apologize for that. If you need it zoomed in or out.
That's actually your apartment you live in. This has been proven.
It's the landing of one of the staircases.
Where you lived.
And what do you see on the picture?
It's broken glass and something spilled
Wait,
on the
wait, the
landing.
battery's off, wait.
Staircases. I can't tell if it's P3 or P5.
What is happening?
Okay.
What's the noise?
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict something that you observed on the night of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Did you ever know Miss Heard to smash glasses on staircases?
No.
Did you find that question vague and ambiguous, Ms. Pennington?
No.
Exhibit 32 is up.
Here we are. Oh my god, this is the slowest witness
this
in
picture
the
of, Miss
history of
Pennington?
witness.
These
Or
are
witnessing.
stairs appearing of the same staircase with broken glass on them.
Does this picture fairly and accurately depict something that you personally observed the night of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
33 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is a picture of the
Carpet.
floor mat in front of the doors that would lead out to the balcony of PH3, and it has a broken, looks like top of a martini glass on it.
Wow, she even know the type of glass.
Did you see this glass or material around this being broken on the evening of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And who broke this glass?
Johnny did.
You
And
saw
does this
him.
photo fairly and accurately depict something that you observed after Mr. Depp left Penthouse 3 on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Exhibit 34 is up.
Rottenborn, ask her if she saw Johnny throw that
What
on
is
the
this a
floor.
picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is the space between the cabinets in the refrigerator and the kitchen island. It has a rug on it, and it has a fruit basket and fruit on the ground.
And do you know who knocked that fruit on the ground?
Yes.
Who?
Johnny.
And does this fairly and accurately depict damage that you saw on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Exhibit 35 is up.
Thank you. What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is the landing of PH5 that Amber's office was set up on. And this is her desk and her files. And boxes have been outturned, and there's papers all over the floor. And
is this how Miss Heard normally kept her office area?
no.
Does this fairly and accurately depict damage that you observed on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
36 is up.
Is this that same office area?
Yes.
And is this an accurate depiction of what you observed on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
37 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is a picture of two photos on the column, the staircase leading up to
Thank you,
Amber's
Highwood.
office. The top photo is a group photo of Savannah, Whitney, Io, myself, Amber, Aaron, Brittany, Morgan. We were in London. The glass is smashed. The bottom photo is a photo of Amber and me in France.
Does this photo fairly and accurately depict damage that you observed on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
38 is up.
Even the other guy got fed up with this. He's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm done for today. Incredibly
What is this a
average.
picture of?
Incredibly average has done a great job at doing video
Picture
debunking
of a
all this
large
stuff.
bottle of wine
You know,
on
like
the floor.
they should show their video to these
On May
people.
21st, 2016?
Yes.
Is this the bottle he was swinging,
Um,
if you know?
I don't know.
But it accurately depicts something you observed on May 21st, 2016.
Oh my god, the freaking
Yes.
bottle on the floor.
Did
Oh,
you
gotta be kidding me.
Did you notice, you or Miss Heard or anyone that you were with, spilling wine in penthouses that night in order to stage damage?
Oh, of course. What do you want them to
No.
say? Rottenborn.
And,
Oh
and
my
by
god.
what is this a picture of? I meant the whole scene.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, it's a picture on the floor.
Do you know what penthouse that is in?
No one cares
Can you zoom
anymore.
out again,
Rottenborn.
please? Three.
Do you know who knocked this picture on the floor?
Mammata.
I didn't see it knocked down.
Did other than Mr. Depp, did you see anyone causing any damage or knocking anything down in any of the penthouses on May 21st, 2016?
No.
And did you see Mr. Depp knocking things down?
Yes.
Does this picture fairly and accurately describe something that you observed on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe, did you see any injuries on Amber on May 21st, 2016?
Just a swollen, like red swollen cheek.
Wow.
Let's pull up the May 21st, 2016 ALH 7077, please. And while he's doing that, did you, I know we talked about pictures of damage in the penthouses. Did you take pictures of Miss Heard that evening?
I don't remember if it was me or Josh.
Were you present when pictures were taken of Miss Heard on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Does this picture fairly and accurately reflect observations you made of Miss Heard on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
42 is up.
What is this picture, Ms. Pennington?
This is Amber's face. It's red. The right cheek and eye is more red and swollen. Her right. My left.
Does this fairly and accurately depict Miss Heard's condition that you observed that evening?
Yes.
Can you pull up 7083, please? What is this picture of?
This is Amber's face turned at a slight profile. Her eye is red and bruised. The side, the side brow, temple, and cheekbone.
Does this fairly and accurately depict Miss Heard's condition that you witnessed on May 21st, 2016?
You know what it looks like to me? It looks like she has a
Yes.
skin allergy to something.
And were you present when police arrived?
Yes.
No, you know when you have a rush because you used the wrong cream or something?
What were there two sets of police officers?
Yes.
And what penthouse did they come in?
Penthouse 3 both times.
How close were you to the police officer?
In the same room.
Okay. Could you see damage that he had caused while you were standing there when the police officers were present?
Yes.
Did you ever hear Miss Heard say, express any financial motivations for wanting to remain in this relationship with Mr. Depp?
Oh, please,
No.
Rottenborn. Please.
Did Miss Heard ever express that if she
Oh
went
my
public
God.
against with what happened on May 21st, 2016, that she stood to gain financially from doing so?
No.
My empathy is already gone today. I told you in the morning I'm more sympathetic. My empathy is already dried out. I'm like, please go to work. There are fields where they need like orange picking or something, you know? There is lack of labor. Just go there for a month or so. You learn something. Oh my God.
Now, at some
These
point
people.
after May 21st, 2016, Miss Heard filed for divorce from Mr. Depp, right?
Correct.
And at some point she filed for a domestic violence restraining order against him. Is that right?
Yes.
And I'm gonna come back to that line of questioning in a second, but before I forget, you mentioned Jerry and Sean Bett on the night of May 21st, right? Was there a space in the floor of the ECB where they would wait for Mr. Depp when he was in one of the penthouses?
Yes.
And what was that space?
We called it the guard shack, and it was a vestibule separate from the penthouses, except that a door from the vestibule also connected to the door of the patio of PH5.
Was the okay? Was it if someone were in the vestibule or the guard shack, as you called it, would they have seen you go into penthouse 3 when Amber requested that you do so?
No.
Did you see Jerry or Sean or any security guards when you entered penthouse 3 that evening?
No.
Okay. Going back to the domestic violence restraining order, did you accompany Miss Heard to court when she got that order?
Yes.
I'd like you to pull up, please, May 2016, Court, Pennington, 1292, please. And while he's doing that, do you know if Miss Heard wore any makeup that morning?
They even both dressed in black just to make sure that the
I don't
widow
remember
look
seeing her
was
put on any
on
makeup.
par, you know? And
Is
also
that
look
rare
at the
for Miss
face,
Heard not
like,
to wear makeup?
Yes.
oh gee, man.
What is this a picture of?
I feel like I've
This
been polluted
is
by
Amber
this, you know?
and
Like I
Jody,
feels like I need
publicist,
kale for a week or
sitting
something.
On the bench in the hallway waiting room of the courthouse.
When?
The day that the restraining order was filed.
Do you see any injuries on Miss Heard?
I do.
Describe what you see.
On her cheekbone, right cheekbone is bruise.
And how long after May 21st was this, approximately?
I don't know. I don't remember.
A matter of days? Weeks?
Well, we just have to endure to this.
less than a
Hopefully,
week.
there's gonna be more Camille or cross, examination
Did you ever
again.
see any makeup artist paint on this bruise? Put a fake bruise on Miss Heard's face?
No.
Can you please pull up
Look at the sad face she made there in
Pennington,
the courtroom.
1295, please? And before we
And
do
this one is
does
not
this
sad
picture fairly
anymore. It's like,
inaccurately
okay, give me a
depict
second. 1, 2,
Miss
3.
Heard's condition
Sad.
the morning
And then
she
took the
or the
picture.
day she applied for the domestic violence restraining order?
Oh my God.
Yes.
Do you know whether you took this picture?
To the best of my recollection, I took that.
And I'm going to ask you the same thing about this next picture, 1295.
Oh man, this woman at the end of the day got paid. Got out of this relationship.
As
She got
said,
7 million.
To the best of my recollection, I took that.
And
And does that fairly and accurately depict Miss Heard's condition on that morning?
Yes.
46 is up.
it's funny, this woman, she has a never swelling nowhere.
What is that a picture of?
Like, she has dark circle around the eyes. Like,
It is amber.
I mean,
slight profile.
what kind of punches JD throws? I
Same
don't understand.
courthouse
Like,
room.
what does he do?
Her hair's behind her ear.
Does he
You can
flick?
See a picture
He's
of
like a
bruise on
flicker.
her cheekbone.
JD is a flicker. We know now.
She
He
looks
flicks
like a
on
skeleton.
cheekbones. Like,
Did you take this picture?
JD
Yes.
the flicker.
Based
We
on your
discovered
personal
something
knowledge,
today.
is there any truth to the allegation that Amber did this because she's, quote, a gold digger?
No.
Rotten board.
Ms.
Just-
Pennington,
Please.
you came to understand at some point, at some point, did you learn that Mr. Depp had lost the tip of his finger in Australia?
Yes.
And what is that other way that you learned that Mr. Depp had cut the tip of his finger off?
He showed it to me.
In addition to showing you, how did you learn from Mr. Depp that he had cut off the tip of his own finger?
He told me.
What did he tell you?
Said, I don't remember how he said he cut the tip of his finger off, but while the nurse was dressing it, I wanted to see it. I also had a very small injury on the tip of my finger. And I continued to see it throughout its healing process, but I don't remember how he told me how he cut it off.
But you remember that he told you that he cut it off.
Oh
Yes.
my God, Rottenborn! You just
Pennington,
go
I'll
hide
finish
in the
where we
toilet
started, which
and
is
stay there.
You've given a
Please.
number of
That's the only place where you can
testified
be
a number of
standing.
times about the events that we talked about today, and I really appreciate you you being here today and talking about these. I know it was tough and it was emotional at times. Is there anything that you would change about any of the testimony that you've given today or previously about any of these events?
No.
And you've done your best every time you've testified about this to tell the full truth about everything that you know, everything that you saw, everything that you heard, everything that you've observed, right?
I have done the very best to tell the absolute truth.
I mean, this woman is a crier.
Exactly as I remember it.
She cries
At
also
all of
when
the
it's
points of
foggy.
time.
You know, like she cries.
All right. Yes,
She
sir. Your
cries.
next witness?
She cries
Yes,
on
Your
a
Honor,
cloudy
that
day. You know,
concludes
this
the
is a
testimony of
crier.
Raquel
Like,
Pennington. Ms. Heard calls Joshua Drew as her next witness.
Okay.
And if we may approach just to discuss a
All
couple
right.
exhibits.
And that's by deposition, is that correct?
It is by deposition,
All right.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I mean, this woman cries even when the milk is finished in the refrigerator. You know what I mean? Like, what's the crying? Oh my god, that's so hilarious, man. It's the same people which betrayed him, basically, are the same people that lived in his apartment, and they're betraying him because they were her friends. They sucked this man dry. Also, just like here we're doing only commentary, also kind of comedic commentary. I say this as a disclaimer because, of course, I don't want to come across as if I'm trying to spread hatred or whatever. I also do this for the sake of making this whole thing a little bit lighter, and also not to get demonetized, because this morning I had to talk with some YouTube help desk to check some of the videos, because all of the lives were demonetized by default, and now luckily a few already they have come back because I asked a manual review. But I had to talk this morning with the YouTube help, like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Is it because there are cuss words in some of those videos? Are because they mention domestic violence? Is it the word itself that causes demonetization? So I was trying to understand what I did wrong. Is it just the F word or some other cuss words? So is it because it's a sensible, like, of course, it's a trial, it's about the DV. So I was trying to figure it out, because all of a sudden, all like 6-7 lives, they just went, demonetized. I'm like, hey, like somebody had mentioned it to somebody else. But luckily this morning I talked to the YouTube helper and we did some manual reviews. Some they're coming back, So already I like 2 or 3, which that's nice to know. But definitely something happened before. So that's why I'm also saying the disclaimer, because I don't want this to come across as if I'm trying to spread hatred or I'm against Amber Heard, or you know what I mean, like I'm a kind of like a shield for anyone or whatever. So we're just doing some commentary and that's it. Yeah, it could be. No, I mean, Rottenborn has done really a good job at leading, like leading really well. Of course, the crying, she cried a lot, but, without cross-examination or whatever. The evidence is still poor because it's still the same evidence everybody knows, but he did a good job at trying at least, because this is, let's not forget, at the end of the day, is just how good you can influence the jury. And again, this happens in this sort of capsule of the courthouse, where if this jury hasn't been exposed to anything from the outside, the only evidence they have is the one which it's been presented here. So that's what it is. And humanly, you can always influence somebody with good talking and good points. Like Rottenborn, did a good job in that way, in my opinion, to some of the points. But still, if you're a lawyer, if you're a judge, if you're an experienced jury, I would assume. I'm not an expert, and to me feels like he was leading like all of a sudden I saw leashes, appearing in the images, like bringing around your dog or something. So that was like so incredibly obvious. But the evidence, I don't know if they're going to cross-examine. I think now the boyfriend, her boyfriend, Raquel's boyfriend, is coming on, if I understand correctly. So those are the same 3 people or 2 people that testified in the UK trial. It's nothing new. It's just boring to the bone because there was no evidence before. A ton of evidence is being debunked, more or less. And of course, I'm alleging, I'm not judging anything or whatever. But a lot of stuff is out there that people can see. They can make up their own mind. So it's a lot of beating around the bushes here, literally. Actually, I wanted to go through the audio that we heard yesterday, a snippet where JD is outside the driveway of one of his house, and she's going completely ballistic in being codependent and needy and just going all over the place with you know, like she's breaking down with neediness. And the guy just want to step into his house, see his daughter. I think they released that part of, like an hour or so of that audio. I actually wanted to go through it because they just played a clip in the trial. So if I have time later or whatever, maybe we'll go through it. It's a nice, interesting new evidence. You learn much more from those things, from those audios in their entirety, than if you just listen to these snippets and to their deposition, because you can really feel the dynamic in between the two people. And after hours and hours and hours of audio listening, I can definitely tell you that JD seems pretty calm person, despite everything.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And the other person seemed very,
Miss Heard
very
calls Joshua
imbalanced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is the same thing of the oh my God.
Do you live Los Angeles? What is your occupation? I run my own hospitality development consulting firm. Are you also a chef? Not anymore. What, if any, education have you had since high school? I have my Associates of Science in Culinary Arts. And from what institution? Johnson & Wales University. Did you receive a degree from there? I did. In what year? That would have been 2003. Who is Raquel Rose Pennington? My ex-wife. Because I want to be respectful, how should I refer to her? Ms. Pennington, Rocky, or Raquel? Rocky or Raquel is perfectly fine. Okay. You were married to Rocky, so there came a time when you began to date Rocky, correct? Correct. When did you start dating Rocky? That would have been June of 2014. And did there come a time when you became engaged to Rocky? Correct. When was that? That would have been in summer of 2015. Yeah, I believe. Do you recall when you were divorced from Rocky? Officially September 24th of last year. We separated officially October of the previous year. When did you first meet Amber Heard? Probably about 3 or 4 weeks after Raquel and I had started dating, very early on. When did you first meet Johnny Depp? Shortly after I met Amber. I want to say, if memory serves, about 5 or 6 weeks after Raquel and I started dating. Again, I understand it was a long time ago, but do you recall under what circumstances you met him? Funny enough, I actually do very clearly. I had come over under the auspice of what was called Family Movie Night, and it was Amber and Johnny and Jack. I honestly don't remember whether Lily Rose was there. She might have come later at a certain point. And it was just us in their apartment, eating burgers and watching movies. Since that time, on how many occasions have you
I wish I was there too.
And interacted with Johnny Depp from that very first time on movie night? I couldn't even speculate the number of. It's not that it was infrequent so much as it was sporadic and honestly for a large portion of it fairly casual. Not the kind of thing where you would just count the number of times. It was regular interactions over various periods of time. Well, your counsel is not going to let you speculate, but I'm going to ask you to get a range. Is it more than 10 times? Yes. More than 50 times? Yes. From the time that you first met Mr. Depp on movie night until this very moment sitting here today, have you ever seen Mr. Depp strike Amber Heard? No. Have you ever seen him throw a telephone at her? No. Have you ever seen
I like this guy so far.
With a fist? No. Have you ever lived at a building located at 849 South Broadway in Los Angeles known as the Eastern Columbia Building? Correct. Did you live in the condo known as Penthouse 1? Correct. With whom did you live in Penthouse 1? Raquel Pennington. From when to when did you live in Penthouse 1 with Rocky Pennington? Again, my memory is a little bit foggy of exact dates. Man, you'll have to bear with me a minute here. So while I was a frequent guest, I didn't actually live there until I want to say about October or November of 2015.
Was Rocky already living in Penthouse 1 when you started visiting and ultimately moved in there?
Yes.
Did Ms. Pennington move into Penthouse 1 in or about June of 2014?
I couldn't tell you with any specificity, but I believe it's around that time frame.
Who owned Penthouse 1 at the time?
Johnny Depp.
While you and Rocky lived together in Penthouse 1, did you or she have a key that allowed you access to all of the penthouses on that floor?
Everything except PH2, yes.
At the time, did Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard live together in PH3?
Sporadically, yes.
The key to which you and Rocky had access allowed either of you to enter PH3, correct?
Correct.
Who was in PH5 at the time?
Nobody. Nobody lived in PH5 for the entirety of our time there.
Did you or Rocky ever pay Mr. Depp any rent to live in PH1?
Offered and refused.
Did you consider the refusal of your offer to be a generous gesture by Mr. Depp?
Exceedingly.
In your experience, is Mr. Depp generally generous to his friends?
Yes.
Is he generous to people generally?
Yes.
Did Mr. Depp own Penthouse 5?
Yes.
Would your key have opened Penthouse 5?
Yes.
When you and Rocky were living here in Penthouse 1,
At least he's being honest. The guy.
did you ever notice that there were security personnel standing outside the door of Penthouse 3 when Mr. Depp was in Penthouse 3?
Not normally, no.
Did you ever see the security personnel standing outside of his door?
On very rare occasion. Normally they were in a storage room off to the side of PH5.
Moving aside from Mr. Bett and Mr. Judge, while you stayed at the East Columbia building, did you come to know any of the employees of the building?
Casually.
Who is Trinity Esparza?
She was one of the front desk people.
Did you have communications with her?
In the course of living there, yes.
Did you find her to be pleasant?
No.
How was she unpleasant?
She was not particularly polite or accommodating to me or Raquel or any of Amber's friends. I wasn't there specifically, but I heard similar things from Amber and her interactions with her as well throughout the course of our time there.
While you lived in Penthouse 1, did you have the opportunity to interact often with Amber Heard?
Yes.
Did you and Rocky see Ms. Heard frequently?
Yes.
Did you ever see her drinking alcohol?
Yes.
Did you ever see her drink to excess?
Yes.
Did you observe Amber Heard during her wedding to Mr. Depp at the Bahamas?
Yes.
Was she intoxicated at any time during the wedding weekend?
Yes. As were we
This
all.
guy's good.
Did you ever hear at any time Amber Heard yell at Mr. Depp?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I couldn't tell you the number of occasions.
Did you ever see her strike Mr. Depp?
No.
Now you're starting to lie, my man.
Did you and Rocky ever discuss the relationship between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
Honestly, probably hundreds, if not thousands.
Mr. Drew, moving to April 21, 2016, do you recall that there was to have been a birthday celebration that night?
Yes.
Was that Amber Heard's birthday?
Yes.
Do you recall which birthday it was for her, how old she was?
It was her 30th. I catered it.
What do you recall about that evening?
I recall it was held in PH5. Johnny was hours late, and Amber spent the better part of the evening making excuses for him. And he came very obviously intoxicated and put on a show for everybody. And when the party was over, everybody left, cleaned up, and the next morning we heard about what had transpired after the fact.
So Johnny was supposed to have attended the dinner, correct?
Correct.
And at what time did the dinner begin?
I don't recall.
You and Rocky were guests at the dinner?
Correct.
Who else was invited to the dinner?
Again, you'll have to forgive me. It was quite some time ago. I remember Amber's friend Brandon being there. Amber's friend Iggy, a rabbi. I want to say that Ricky was there as well.
Husband. They were married and then they divorced.
To be very honest, I can't say with specificity whom else was there.
At least
When
that's
you
what he
say
said.
Whitney, are you referring to Whitney Hurd?
Correct.
Is Whitney Hurd Amber's younger sister?
Correct.
Putting aside the state or condition in which Johnny arrived, do you recall sitting here today approximately when Johnny arrived for dinner?
I really couldn't tell you with any specificity, but I can say it was quite a few hours after the party had started.
Did he provide any excuse or explanation to the group as to why he was late?
No.
Putting aside Mr. Depp's intake of alcohol that evening, had Miss Hurd been drinking before Mr. Depp arrived?
Yes.
Do you know how much?
Couldn't tell you.
Did she seem intoxicated at any time during the evening?
Of course.
Yes.
Did you see Amber Hurd the next morning, April 22nd, 2016?
I believe so, yes.
Did you notice any marks on her face or elsewhere that morning?
I don't recall.
That morning, April 22nd, did you and Ms. Pennington and Amber Hurd drive together to Coachella?
They did, I did not.
Are you still in contact with Amber Hurd?
Sporadically, yes.
And just to be clear, and I'm sorry to jump around, when you say strike that, are you say
The guy is pretty
sporadically?
nervous because he's
How
not
frequently
moving,
you're in
but
contact with her?
We didn't speak for about 2 years following my divorce.
But he moves a lot the eyes.
She reached out to me to make amends about, I want to say about 2 months ago, if memory serves.
I'm going to come back to that. When you said you don't recall seeing marks on the morning of April 22nd, is that because you didn't see any marks on Miss Hurd, or you didn't see her at all that morning?
I honestly don't recall the state of her the next morning. If memory serves, it was, but that the girls were hustling to get everything together to go out to Coachella, so it was a pretty frantic morning. I couldn't say with any specificity whether I interacted with her that morning before they departed.
And Mr. Drew, you said that Ms. Hurd reached out to you. When did she reach out to you?
Sometime in the last 2 months.
What did she say when she reached out to you?
To paraphrase, it was something akin to letting me know that, you know, her and Raquel hadn't spoken in some time, to tell me that she loved me and that she missed me, and she just wanted to make amends and, you know, reconnect.
Did she mention anything about this lawsuit?
Not in the initial interaction.
How did you respond to her in this initial interaction when she said she wanted to make amends?
I didn't for some time. I think I waited about a week and a half before I responded, and before I could, I did get a note from her letting me know that she had tried to keep me out of it, but more than likely people were going to be contacting me either about being deposed or a statement of some kind. There was nothing explicit about whom it would be coming from, whether it was from Johnny's side or from her side, only that somebody would more than likely be reaching out to me.
And when you had a glass of wine, again, only lawyers remember these things, but do you recall approximately when you had a glass of wine with her?
Probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago. Oh, I'm sorry, it would be longer than that. Probably about 2 months ago.
Mr. Drew, let's please change subjects and move to the evening of May 21, 2016, which you had referenced previously. Was Mr. Depp at the condo at the East Columbia building that day prior to the evening?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you see him arriving at the condo that night?
No.
Did you see Mr. Bett and Mr. Judge that evening?
Yes.
When did you first see them?
I saw them when he ordered them to open the door to PH5 following the incident.
When you say he, to whom are you referring?
Johnny.
Did you ever see them that night somewhere outside the door of PH3?
No.
Do you know whether she received a text from Amber Heard at 8:06 p.m.?
I can't certify the time, but the text message itself and the receipt, yes.
Were you with Rocky when she received that text?
Yes.
Wasn't she already in Penthouse 3 as of 8:06 p.m.?
When she received the text, she was not in Penthouse 3. She was in Penthouse 5 with me. But again, I can't recall with specificity the exact time of these events.
Any time, including that night, did you ever see Mr. Depp strike Rocky Pennington?
No.
That evening, did you see Mr. Depp smash bottles of wine?
No.
Did you see him break furniture?
No.
Did you see him kick a hole through a solid door?
No.
Do you recall when Mr. Depp, Mr. Bett, and Mr. Judge left the building that night?
If we're presuming that that text was received from Raquel at 8:06, they had left the building within 30 minutes, to my recollection.
So it would be approximately sometime around 8:30, 8:29?
Thereabouts, but I don't recall specifically.
What else do you remember about the events of the evening of May 21?
I mean, I can tell you contemporaneously from the start if there's something specific you'd like me to expound on.
Who is Officer Melissa Science?
My understanding, it was the name of the Latina officer that first responded with her partner.
Did he really lose 600 million?
When did she arrive at the scene, if you recall?
What's the
Vaguely, I
accurate
remember
figure?
them arriving about 45 minutes to an hour after Johnny had left. But again, exact times I'm a little foggy.
Going back to the Latina officer, was there another officer with her?
Yes, there was a bald gentleman, white.
With which officer, if any, did you speak that night?
Both.
What did you say to them, if you recall?
When they arrived, I greeted them at the door. I walked them through PH3 to show them the damage, show them the broken glass. They had already walked through the hallway over the gigantic wine stain throughout the entire hallway. I took them through PH3, like I said, to show them the damage. I took them back out of the hallway, showed them the dent in the door shaped like the bottom of a wine bottle in PH1, took them into PH5 to see broken picture frames, smashed glass, Raquel's jewelry and things like that strewn about the apartment. And then I brought them back to PH3, at which point they separated. The Latino officer pulled Amber aside specifically to speak to her one-on-one. The door was closed. I was outside with the other officer. So I can't say with any specificity what happened inside. I don't know whether anybody was in earshot. I don't know whether everybody else was around. They told me specifically it was one-on-one. And I was outside the door with the male officer. And specifically my communication with him was asking what, if anything, could be done, because we were obviously upset. And his comment to me specifically was, there's damage in these apartments. Her face is red. If she wants to file a report, we have enough here to go pick him up.
But you've never seen Johnny hit Amber?
That's correct. And I've affirmed it to everybody that I've spoken to. I've been explicit about that.
And you've never seen Johnny hit any woman?
Correct.
Do you recall having a conversation with Rocky and Amber after Mr. Depp and his security personnel left the building, but before Officer Science and Officer Haddon arrived?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
You'll have to forgive me again. My memory of the exact sequence of events, that transpired after all this is a little foggy. If memory serves, Amber was damn near catatonic after all this. We had gotten her into PH1 so we could deadbolt the door and keep her safe until he left. A few minutes thereafter, I had gotten a little bit of a rundown from Raquel over what had transpired. Raquel got her to call her lawyer, Samantha Spector, to find out what to do. And if memory serves, Samantha's recommendation was that we immediately put together a contemporaneous, matter-of-fact statement together of what had transpired that night. And that ultimately was up to Amber as to what she wanted to do with the police.
Did the police went on record
Are you aware
to say
that
what they told this
Amber
guy?
Heard spoke to
That there was
Officer
enough
Science
evidence
and
to go
Officer
pick him up
Patton that
Johnny?
evening?
Yes.
Were
Did he
you
go on
present when
record
she
with
was
this?
speaking to
Or
them?
did he just
No.
say this?
Did Amber file a complaint that night?
No.
Did the police arrest Mr. Depp?
No.
Did they issue a warrant for his arrest?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mr. Drew, let's turn for the moment to May 22nd, 2016. Did you see Ms. Heard at all that day?
Yes.
When did you see her?
At various points throughout the day. If memory serves, Raquel had committed to a jewelry show somewhere, I want to say it was downtown, I might be mistaken, it might have been out in Venice, somewhere in Los Angeles. So she was out most of the day. So I cleared my schedule to be able to be there should Amber need anything. If memory serves, either her attorney or somebody in her group had a friend come over with a locksmith to change the locks just to be safe. And I was there to make sure that happened and just, like I said, be there for Amber should she need anything, just so she wasn't alone.
When you saw Amber on May 22nd, you don't know whether it was the morning or the afternoon. Is that right?
It was sporadic throughout the day. I think it was some point late morning and throughout the afternoon.
When you first saw her, did you notice any marks on her face?
Yes.
Describe the marks, please.
To be very honest with you, I don't actually remember which side of her face it was, but I do distinctly remember there being a red mark and a small bruise on her cheekbone, and red marks just above her eyebrow and to the right side, or to the side of her eyebrow.
Did you see any swelling?
A little bit.
Can you remember anything else? Did you see marks anywhere else other than the ones you've described?
No.
Did you ever notice anyone visiting Amber Heard at night while Mr. Depp was away?
During the time that I was living there.
Yes.
Look at that
Yes.
pause.
On how many occasions?
I wouldn't even be able to estimate.
Was it more than 10?
Yes.
Was it more than 20?
Yes.
Was it more than 30?
Yes.
Was it more than 50?
Again, I can't really speculate. I was there for quite some time.
When did that first occur?
I mean, I'm not privy to her comings and goings, and she had other friends than us that were coming to see her. So,
And again, to be specific, I'm just talking about visitors at night when Mr. Depp was away.
again, I can't say with any specificity.
When did that first happen that you were aware of?
I mean, I would say pretty early on, but again, there's no context to it. The other consideration that I would say is that the hallway between all of these penthouses was public right-of-way going to the pool. So my understanding of people coming and going, it might have been the public, it might have been residents, or I'm sorry, not public, it might have been residents in the building. I can't really say with any specificity.
Who was Elon Musk?
Elon Musk was a gentleman that Amber dated intermittently following the restraining order.
When did can you recognize Elon Musk?
Yes.
When did you first see Elon Musk at Penthouse 3?
I'm not quite clear exactly, but I want to say it was about 3 to 4 weeks after the restraining order was filed.
Yeah, of course.
But while Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were still married, correct?
Yes.
After May 22nd, 2016, did you ever see any marks on Ms. Heard?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Would you please describe, as far as you can remember, what cleanup efforts were undertaken and by whom?
Well, myself. In Penthouse 3, there was a number of pieces of broken glass and items strewn about the counters and the floor in the kitchen. Only in the kitchen, sort of around the kitchen island. In the hallway outside of the penthouses was quite a bit of spilled wine. I don't believe we dealt with that at all. And then in PH5, all of Raquel's things had been strewn about pretty dramatically, so we did our best to sort of put that back together and pack everything back up. And there were, things like piles of books and picture frames were broken, or piles of books were strewn about, and picture frames were broken and things like that. We just picked the glass up off the floor so the dogs didn't get hurt, and I think we left everything else for the time being.
Did you actually see who strewn about? That's not the right verb. But did you actually see the person who threw her clothes around?
I didn't witness firsthand any destruction of any kind.
Are you aware that Ms. Heard alleged that Mr. Depp hit her on or about December 15?
Yes.
What, if anything, do you know about that incident?
So my recollection of that is Raquel and I had come back to the penthouses from where I don't recall specifically, sometime, I want to say late afternoon, early evening. And Raquel was supposed to meet with Amber as soon as they came back. Amber had not been responding to her text messages for some time, so we let ourselves into PH3 together to go check on her and make sure everything was okay. When we came in, the kitchen was completely, I wouldn't say it's trashed, but it was out of order enough for something to be off. And then when we turned the corner on the section of counter next to the kitchen sink, there was something written on the counter, and I don't know, I can't remember what material it was, and to be honest, I can't actually recall exactly what was written. It was something very, very weird, like all is such a fraud or something akin to that.
You never saw Mr. Depp strike Amber Heard on or about December 15, 2015,
No.
correct?
Correct.
Did you see Ms. Heard that night?
Yes.
Did you notice any bruising or other signs of injury?
Yes, pretty significant.
What did you observe?
I noticed specifically she had pretty significant bruising on the inside of both eye sockets, kind of extending down the bridge of her nose, and her forehead was red.
But you have no first-hand knowledge of how that injury occurred.
That's correct.
Are you aware that she Amber Heard made a television appearance the next day?
Yes.
Do you ever see Mr. Depp take drugs, either prescription drugs or drugs that were not by prescription?
Yes.
How many times?
I can't speculate on the number of times, to be honest.
There was some questioning before where people were asking you about emphasizing how many times. Is it fair to say more than 10 times?
Yes.
Fair to say more than 20 times?
Yes. But to be very honest with you, he was also a very private person, and a lot of that behavior was done in private. I didn't witness a lot of it.
Did you ever hear Mr. Depp yell at Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Can you tell me when you recall that and what happened?
I can't say with any specificity the number of times. There is one incident specifically that I do recall. Myself and Raquel were vacationing in France with the two of them, and we were staying separately, separate houses, and the two of them were having a very, very loud argument with one another, screaming at each other that we could hear through the walls.
How long do you recall approximately that yelling lasted for?
We know.
I want to say
We know.
that I witnessed personally, maybe 30 minutes.
That woman
Did
can
Mr.
go
Depp
on
often
for
wear heavy
hours on an
wings that
argument
you noticed
without
on his
end.
fingers?
Yes.
I mean, there's literally
More
audio
than
of the
one?
same argument that
Yes.
it's like
Were
4
they
hours and
large?
a half.
Is that fair to say?
If memory
my
serves,
God.
yes.
December 15, 2015 Los Angeles, California, which is the next page. And you'll see in paragraph 23, in case it refreshes your recollection, there's a specific reference to Rocky. What knowledge do you have about this incident?
Specifically, coming home, I want to say late afternoon, early evening, it was myself and Raquel. Melanie was not present. Amber had not been responding to Raquel for some time. They were supposed to hang out, the three of them. So we let ourselves into PH3 to check on her and make sure everything was okay. When we came inside, the kitchen and the dining table were a mess. Like the kitchen island area, things were strewn about outside of the norm, and there was something written on the counter adjacent to the kitchen sink, like I stated previously, something like "all is such a fraud" or something in that vein. We realized something was off right away. Raquel told me to go back to our place and then booked it upstairs. I didn't hear from her for about 10-15 minutes, which I was obviously concerned about.
The incident you just testified about, you talked about the kitchen being, with Mr. Chu, about the kitchen being a mess on one incident. Is this the same incident you were referencing?
Correct.
Earlier? Okay. So I think you testified that when you came in, you saw some writing in the kitchen. I've showed you a document which is a photograph.
I mean, this guy divorced the woman as well.
That's what you were referring to earlier.
Yes.
And did you come to learn, Mr. Drew, who had written this language? Is this the kitchen? Withdrawn. Is this the kitchen counter?
It's the kitchen counter next to the kitchen sink.
And this is in the apartment of Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp?
PH3.
And did you come to learn who had written these words on the kitchen counter?
I'm sure there'll be an objection to this response, but I knew it's his handwriting.
When you use the preposition "his" in that answer, you meant Mr. Depp?
Correct.
And why? And are you saying that you recognized at the time that it was his handwriting?
Correct.
And why do you? Well, how were you able to recognize Mr. Depp's handwriting?
He has a very unique mode of penmanship.
And you had seen that mode of penmanship previously?
Many times.
Can you read what is written on the countertop in Drew 10?
Why be a fraud? All is such bullshit.
Is this, Drew 10, an accurate photograph of what you recall seeing that day?
To my recollection, yes.
Was anything else written on the countertop?
Not that I remember.
When you saw these, when you came into the apartment and saw the mess in the kitchen and saw these words written on the countertop, were you concerned?
Immediately.
And what were you concerned about?
That something very, very bad had happened.
And that's in part because you assumed immediately that Mr. Depp had written these words?
Yes.
Can you read, you read into the record what it says. Just correct me if I'm wrong. That little kind of red thing there in the top right-hand corner of the photograph, do you recall, is that a lipstick? Part of a lipstick?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. At the time, did you have any idea of what this was written in? Do you recall?
Looking at it, I can answer. I don't recall from the time, so I'm going to say no.
And I take it, Mr. Drew, you didn't take this photograph?
No.
Do you know if Rocky did?
I don't know.
And when you say you were concerned that something very bad had happened, what do you mean by that?
You walk into somebody's house and it looks like they vandalized it and things are amiss or things are strewn about. It doesn't portend anything good.
Did you go anywhere else in Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd's apartment other than the kitchen that day?
The living room later.
So, again, to the best of your recollection, I understand it's a long time ago, and I understand these aren't exactly happy memories, but can you tell me chronologically what happened? Like, you let yourself into the apartment, you saw this.
So funny that
just tell me the story again to the best of your recollection of what happened when.
Evidence can be just
How
fabricated.
I remember it
you know?
is that
you can just write something on a countertop and make a picture of it. I mean,
hadn't heard from Amber in some time, which was out of character for her. let ourselves in to go check, saw that written on the counter, saw the kitchen amiss. Raquel looked at me and said specifically, go back to our place. I'm going to go check on her. Bolted upstairs. I was sitting over in PH1 in our apartment waiting, and I heard from her. Again, I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was about 10 or 15 minutes later. I really don't remember what my response was. I don't remember what transpired after that, other than there was some time that she was over there. I don't remember when or even if Melanie came over at any point during that evening.
What do you recall about that?
And I remember it specifically because she had pretty significant visible facial injuries and didn't know if she was going to be in a state to do it, or didn't know whether she was even going to have the physical appearance to be able to do it.
Okay, when you say these things, first of all, she in those statements is Amber Heard, correct?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face that day?
Yes.
Do you have good vision?
I didn't have glasses and I didn't need them then, so yes.
So I'm handing you a document that was marked as through 11. You can see from the top page it was attached to Ms. Heard's affidavit. Declaration is Exhibit 13. And I want you to look at the photos of Ms. Heard's face and tell the jury, Mr. Drew, if those were consistent with what you observed on her face that day.
It is. I was with Raquel when she took the pictures.
Thank you, Jessica.
And the pictures were taken on Raquel's iPhone or photo camera?
To my recollection, yes, they could have been taken on Amber's phone, so there wouldn't be any potential accusation of bias or anything like that.
Oh my God, always the same pictures over and over and over.
And you described earlier to Mr. Chu that there was, as I recall, kind of color under both of her eyes.
Yes.
And I say her, I mean Ms. Heard. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photo, this one, I'm going to hold it up.
Yes.
Did you personally observe that day this injury on Ms. Heard's face?
I did.
Some of you also said this is a civil case.
And you said before you were there,
so
when
in the end,
Ms. Pennington
they
was
are
taking
not
the photos?
facing.
Yes.
No one is facing really
There's a
consequences.
couple more photos in there. It looks like there's a busted lip.
It's not like a criminal case that you can go in jail for whatever.
See those
I
photos?
don't think,
you
you
recall
know.
seeing that personally on Ms. Heard's face that
I think
day?
the nature of the trial
Honestly,
itself
I don't remember
it's,
without looking at this photo, so I'm
very,
comfortable
very
saying
mild. But
I don't know.
I can be
Mr. Drew,
wrong.
were you there? Do you just to refresh your recollection? You were there when all of these photos were taken, or just the photos of the face?
I can't say definitively.
Okay. But there's some photos you were there for that are here.
Correct.
But at least some of the photos in Drew 11, you recall being there and personally observing Ms. Pennington take them.
Correct.
And are you aware of any efforts by Rocky or anyone else to manipulate the photos that were taken that day with Photoshop or any other method of
She has no
changing
injury.
a
I
photograph?
mean, I
If I had
honestly
any
don't know
knowledge
what
of that
happened
or
on the
even
lift.
suspected it, this would be a very different interview.
It's a deposition, but yes.
Or a very different deposition. Whatever.
I'm going to turn now to the incident on April 21, 2016, in connection with Ms. Heard's birthday party. I guess it was her 30th birthday party. What I'd like, if you can, Mr. Drew, is for you to tell me in your own words, again, separate and apart from anything that's in Ms. Heard's declaration, what you recall happening that day and what you did, saw, and observed.
So if memory serves, it was Amber's 30th birthday. She wanted to have a dinner party at the apartments, just close friends, and I offered to cook dinner for everybody. There had been some mention that he had appointments or he had some things, and but that he would be there and so on and so forth. I really don't recall specifically who the appointments with, what they were for, what time they were, and anything like that. Quite frankly, any talk of schedule with either Amber or Johnny was pretty much moot, to be very honest. Everybody arrived. We were sort of, I think we waited for a little bit of time, expecting him to show up. And at a certain point, I don't know who made the decision. They're just like, let's sit down, have dinner. He'll get here whenever he gets here. and we had the party in PH5. We sat outside. I want to say he showed up not towards the end of the evening, but pretty close to. Again, this is just my observation, but it appeared that he was inebriated in some way. I won't say whether he'd been drinking on pills or whatever it was, but it did have the appearance that he was inebriated in some way. She did not react to it.
She being
Amber, yeah, played nice. He sat down, and honestly, the rest of the evening was quite pleasant. He does what he always does when he comes and sits down at dinner, is put on a show and connect with everybody, and be entertaining, be pleasant and polite, and her the same thing. You would have never known that there was an issue. And then I didn't hear anything until the next morning, and I knew that there was a scramble. The girls were leaving the next day for Coachella, which I did not attend with. But all I knew was that they had gotten in a pretty big argument, but because of the rush to get out that day, I didn't really get too many stories about it.
You cooked the dinner that night?
You don't talk to your wife.
Oh, I remember that. Actually, I do remember.
What'd you cook?
I made tacos, actually. Don't ask me why I remember what I made, but I did. Amber wanted Mexican food, so I did a big Mexican spread.
When you say that
he looks at the lawyer as if this was prepared.
He appeared inebriated. Do you recall? Was he swaying? Was his voice, his words slurred? What do you recall?
Because I had come to know him pretty well at that point, he was pretty good at hiding it with people who didn't know him all that well. But you could sort of see that if you spent enough time around with him, you could see the little ticks, slurring his words a little bit extra, swaying, being a little bit more discombobulated, and being a little bit more.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe,
just
please.
Gregarious and loose. It's not his normal mode.
Okay, I hate to go back into what I'm going to refer to as the poop incident. But I think you testified earlier that you observed on a number of occasions dog poop or dog pee in Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd's apartment. Is that correct?
In perpetuity.
When you say in perpetuity, what do you mean?
It's pretty much constant. I've cleaned up my fair share in that apartment.
And I think you testified that the dogs weren't trained to only poop on the sidewalk.
They weren't trained at all. They had their run, and they'd be left at home for large portions of the day sometimes, and if there was nobody there to take care of them, and at some point, there was pee and poop on everything. Couches, sofas, chairs, the bed, you name it.
Let's go to the May 21 incident, which is covered on pages 10
That's awkward.
through 13. This is from Drew 7. Again, same thing that we did for April 21. I would like it, Mr. Drew, if you could just tell me the story of your role, what you saw, what you observed, what you did, chronologically in connection with this incident.
I don't remember what day of the week it was. It was either a Friday or a Saturday. I want to say it was a Saturday because I was not in the office. Raquel had her first jewelry show the next day, and the plan was for her and her friend Liz, who would come over to help her specifically get set up for this. Amber was around. They were going to sit in PH5 and do yoga and paint and make necklaces and things like that. And I was sort of in and out most of the day, hanging out with them. And pretty rapidly thereafter, I don't think it was more than like 10 or 15 minutes before I heard a door open in the hallway. And then a couple seconds later, I heard a really, really loud slam, which I later learned was a wine bottle being smashed into our door at PH1. And then I heard keys jingling and Johnny shouting at one of his security to open this. Is it right if I swear? I mean, I'm telling you here. That's okay.
Yeah, you should say the words exactly as they were said.
As I remember, he said, "Open this fucking door, get me in here." And he came in, caught eyes with me right away, and beeline for me, screaming, cursing, spitting in my face. I walked calmly to leave, realized that I'd forgotten my keys and the dog, so I turned around and walked back to go get both. He stayed and followed with me, walking, pacing, screaming, cursing, spitting in my face, and I left calmly. At that point, Liz was still in the apartment, and the last look I saw of her is that she bolted around the corner and went upstairs to hide from him.
Had Mr. Depp ever done this to you before?
No.
Did he...
Man, anybody can be driven to be pissed off once or twice, you know, verbally.
Close enough for it to be aggressive.
Within a foot?
Yes.
And you said that you originally heard him say, you know, open the fucking door. When he was spitting and screaming at you, what did you recall him saying?
Couldn't tell you. Honestly, it sounded like gibberish. At that point, I don't think I was really hearing anything. It was just, how can I get the hell out of here without something else happening? Because quite frankly, like, even though he's standing there in front of my face, he's also got, you know, 2 bodyguards right there with him that are bigger than me. What's really going to happen here?
What were you feeling when this was going on? I
mean, I don't think, honestly, I didn't feel threatened. I'll say that flat out. It seemed really, really silly. I wasn't really surprised. I just wanted to get out and make sure that the girls were okay.
And sometimes you can say someone's spitting at you because they're like performing on a stage and they're... It
wasn't like actively spitting in my face. It was just the nature of how close he was and the way in which he was acting.
He was pissed off. Okay.
Okay. So you go get your keys. You guys have your own dog, I take it?
Yes.
You got your dog. You go out. What happens next?
I walked out into the hallway, and to be very, very candid, I don't remember in this instance whether I went to PH3 to go check on them or whether I went into PH1. The sequence of events after that as to when I actually got to Raquel and Amber or whether they came to me, I really don't remember that sequence of events offhand. I couldn't tell you.
So when you got to Raquel and Amber, what did you observe?
I remember first speaking to them specifically in PH1 in our place, but how it is we got there, I don't remember. I remember Depp bolting the door, and Amber was like catatonic. She was just
a few minutes. Those guys, they're gonna go in lunch break.
Done. And Raquel was like trying to calm down herself, and I was like, just what the fuck just happened? And she started to recount a little bit, and I went right out the door and started banging on the door to do something regrettable. He was already gone at that point.
Just so I understand that you banged on the door.
PH5.
I'm going to go to Drew 1, if you don't mind. Your incredible architectural drawing, Mr. Drew. So tell me where you are, where he was, where you went.
I was in here when Johnny came in. Doors right here.
The witness should reflect, the record should reflect the witness putting to PH5.
Door was right there. This is in PH5. The living room's a little bit larger. I came out of the door to PH1, right smack in the middle, and I went back, started banging on the door at PH5, assuming he was still in there, but they were already gone.
So what sparked you to go back to try to go after Mr. Depp was hearing from Rocky that Mr. Depp had pushed her.
Correct.
As opposed to Ms. Hurd.
Correct.
By the time you got over there, he had already left.
Yes.
You said that Amber, when you saw them, that Amber and Rocky, I think you said Amber seemed catatonic.
Yeah, she was just a ghost.
How did Rocky seem?
From what I remember, sort of like when somebody's coming down from an adrenaline rush, she was just sort of like, she didn't really know what to do. Couldn't sit still, just sort of standing there and shaking.
So after you had gone to try to find Johnny, he'd already left. What happened next?
I went right back to the girls to make sure that they were okay after my own little selfish outburst.
And they were, at that point, still in your apartment?
They were still in my apartment. I came in. Amber had started to come out of it a little bit. Raquel had started to calm down a little bit. I started to get a little bit of information as to what happened. The thing I remember most distinctly was that Amber had Johnny's cell phone in her hand, so I took it from her.
And when did you first learn about the police?
We We were in PH1. I believe at that point when I came back upstairs, Amber was already on the phone with her attorney. We went back to go take pictures of all the damage, took pictures of the wine stain in the hole.
Is that the first time you saw the damage in her place, or had you already seen it in kind of the back and forth?
Again, I'm a little foggy on that. I can't say definitively whether I'd seen it before or whether that was when I saw it for the first time. So we took her back to PH3. We took photos of the damage inside. And I want to say the first responders came pretty shortly thereafter. Maybe, again, I'm really guessing here. I want to say 20 or 30 minutes at the most.
The first set of police officers who were there, how long do you recall them staying?
Maybe 15 minutes. I was asked to greet the officers specifically because Amber didn't want to file a report, and I said that I would speak to them to see if I could, get them to leave and say that everything's okay, even though we all knew that there was no way they could do that. I told her that I would go and greet them first.
Okay, so 2 questions. Why did you know that there was no way they could do that? Let me ask you that question first.
Survivor of domestic violence myself.
What was your understanding of why she didn't want to have him arrested?
She was still protecting him.
What else, if anything, Mr. Drew, do you remember either the female Hispanic police officer or the Caucasian gentleman saying that even?
I remember I was the one who walked them through PH3 where the original incident had occurred. I showed them the broken glass. They had already walked over the wine stain in the hallway, or the big spill of wine, and I showed them the bolt in the door. You could see looked like the bottom of a wine bottle. I took them into PH5 and showed them through. Their communication to me throughout was me just pointing things out to them. The Caucasian police officer pulled me outside solo. I can't say what happened internally, so I don't know whether anybody was in earshot, whether it was just Amber and the officer having a one-on-one, or whether there was anybody else around them. I don't know what was said either, specifically outside of what I might have heard secondhand, which has already been talked about ad nauseum.
You have in front of you, Mr. Drew, a series of photographs that we've marked as Drew 13. And I think I'm just going to take you through them one by one, if that's okay with you. And I'm going to ask you if you remember, if you can tell me what these photos are.
These are photos taken of her the night of the incident.
Who took the photos?
Some were taken by me, some were taken by Raquel.
And when you say the night of the incident,
May 21.
And are you sitting here today, can you distinguish which were taken by you and which were taken by?
No.
Were you present when they were all taken?
I can't say that definitively.
Okay. Were you present when photos were taken of Ms. Heard's face, like you see on the first page of this?
Yes.
And is this image of Ms. Heard's face on May 21 consistent with your recollection of what her face looked like?
Yes.
And am I correct that unlike, it's a little hard to see because there's shadow on the right, but unlike the prior incident that we looked at where there were photos, here the injury looks like it's mostly on one side?
Correct.
Let's look at the next photo. Tell me if you can remember, if you can identify with any.
These are pictures pulled off the wall and placed onto their bed in their bedroom.
Let's go to the next photo where it's clearer. Do you recall seeing this on the night of May 21?
Yes,
Oh
this
my
is on the
God.
column in PH5 going up the stairs.
And there, the glass on the pictures were shattered.
Yes.
Starting with the first photo of Ms. Heard's face, is that what Ms. Heard's face looked like when the police arrived?
Yes.
With the next photo of the pictures on the bed and the broken picture frame on the wall, did you show these you personally show these to the first group of police officers that night?
Honestly, this one, I really can't say whether I did show them to the officers. I don't recall this.
And just so the record is clear, you're pointing to the photos on the bed.
Correct.
What about the photos on the wall?
The third photo, yes, I showed them personally.
For the photos on the wall, you had been in the apartment prior to this.
Yes.
Was the glass broken when you had last been in the
No.
apartment? Okay. Go to the next one.
This is broken glass. I believe this is from the landing directly beneath the photo shown in the third photo.
And it's a landing on a staircase?
Yes.
Did you show, was that photo taken by either you or Rocky?
Yes.
Did you show that glass to the police officers who came, the first group of police officers who came that night?
Yes, I did.
Next photo. I take it even I can figure that out. That's the stairway, I
Yep.
think.
Oh my God,
And,
this damages is blowing my
That
mind.
photo was again taken by either you or Rocky.
Correct.
Was the broken glass on the stairway depicted in this photograph showed to the first group of police officers that night?
Yes, it was.
What's the next photo?
This is the hallway where there would have been spilled wine right outside the door of PH1.
And do you see spilled wine in this photo?
Yes.
Can you indicate for the record where that is?
Here and here and here.
He's pointing to the sort of middle of the photograph on the right side, on the floor, on the stripes.
And was this a photograph taken by either you or your then wife?
Yes.
And did the police officers, the first group of police officers who came, see this on that evening?
They would have walked through it before they even got to the door.
But that's not something you showed them.
No.
Last photo in the series? Can you tell me what that is? Sorry.
That is a wine bottle and spilled wine on the floor.
Is this a photo that was taken by either you or Rocky?
Yes.
Is this something that you showed the first group of police officers that evening?
Yes.
Which apartment is this in?
I believe this is in PH5.
Come on, let's go to break because now there's like lunch
Which
break.
room?
Come on.
In the living room.
We have seen those
As
pictures
I asked
of
with
like
the
a
other
nausea,
series of
like
photos
a nap.
that we
There's
saw.
nothing else.
First of all, are you aware of anyone who made any efforts to Photoshop or otherwise manipulate these photos to make the incident and the circumstances look worse than they were?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have any understanding that evening that looking at the first photo of Ms. Heard's face that anyone had somehow put makeup on her face to make it look like she had an injury under her eye?
No.
With respect to these photographs generally that we've looked at in Drew 13, was there any effort to stage the photographs in any way?
Absolutely not.
And do you know how the photographs got ultimately to Ms. Heard?
I do not.
So I think you testified earlier with Mr. Chu, Mr. Drew, I'm rhyming here, that you were in contact in the building with Ms. Heard on the day of May 22nd.
Yes.
And I'll represent to you that the photos in Drew 14 were taken on that day. Sitting here today, do you know who took these photos?
We're talking about the two I have in front of me right now.
Yep.
It was either me or Raquel.
Is this consistent with your recollection of how Ms. Heard looked the next day on May 22nd?
Objection,
Yes.
lack of.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face on May 22nd?
Yes.
Did you or your ex-wife take photos of Ms. Heard's face on that day?
Yes, to my recollection.
And similar to questions I've asked in the past, was any effort made to stage those photos in any way?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any effort made to put makeup on Ms. Heard's face to make the injuries look redder or more serious?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any manipulation of the photos done, either using Photoshop or any other similar method?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I'm showing you a document that's been marked
Hey, let's
as,
go to lunch
Drew
break. This
18.
is a lot
I'm
of the
directing your
same.
attention to the photos.
There's nothing here. Nothing going
there
on.
and asking if you can identify where these photos were taken.
Wow.
The photo
With
on the
dress
first page.
on a stairway.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't really remember which stairwell this was from which penthouse.
Each penthouse had a stairwell.
Yes.
Next one.
Both of these photos are taken from PH5, where Amber's closet was located. Or what Amber used as her closet, I should say.
So you literally used the
Next page,
freaking room,
same thing. Amber's
like an
closet.
apartment, as a closet.
Same thing.
Oh,
Next
yeah.
page, at least the top one.
The top one, same.
bottom photo?
It's so difficult
page?
to throw some stands, some
Bottom
clothes
photo
on the floor.
is taken
So
from.
hard.
It looks like it's taken from the landing on the stairwell of PH5 towards the kitchen, towards the Broadway side.
Why do you work out when you can just throw clothes on the floor?
On the next page, just seems like similar copies.
Such a better
Were you ever
workout.
made aware,
Oh my god. The
Mr.
muscles you can
Drew,
grow.
of anyone destroying
I'm gonna do it right now in the lunch break.
Not to my knowledge.
Are you aware of any
Clothes
efforts
throwing on the
between and
floor
among
for
Rocky
gigantic
Pennington,
squat. For
Io
gigantic
Tillett,
quads.
Melanie Iglesias, Elizabeth Mars, or Amanda de Cadenet to, quote, get their story straight?
Not to my knowledge.
Have you had any outreach from any of those people that I just mentioned to you to coordinate your story or your recollection or your testimony about the things you've testified here today?
No. I did receive a phone call from IO, I want to say maybe 3 months ago. That was to catch up.
And did you discuss during that phone conversation your recollection of the events that we've been discussing?
No.
You testified
They just discussed for the
that
payday,
the
maybe.
dogs were too small to climb the stairs. Is that
Correct.
correct? And if the dogs, in fact, were too small to climb the stairs, how would they be able to jump on the bed?
One of them was not.
So it's your testimony that one of the
Lunch break,
dogs
please.
had the ability to climb the stairs and jump on the bed, and the other had neither.
Correct.
Asafamaron. Thank God, I called it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that completes the testimony of that witness. So we'll go ahead and have our lunch break. Again, during your hour lunch break, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay? Thank you. We'll see you in an hour.
Alright guys, then I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna stop the stream and I'll come back in an hour also because I have to eat, and also I'm gonna try to do some work in between to give you a different video, whatever. It's a tradition now, at the end of the stream I do a video reviewing the memes or the new
Come back at
information.
1:45 then? Is that fine?
The new information
live
that are
witness at
available.
1:45, so we'll take
So
it.
if you want to
Okay.
see the
All right,
one
thank
on
you.
last night, there is a meme in the title. And thank you so much, Maria. But I'll be back in an hour streaming again. I'm just gonna close this because it's also easier to divide the stream for people coming afterwards, because yesterday literally I left it on for 8 hours straight, and I think it's much better. So far so good. I mean, you know, the usual points, like somebody pointed out in the chat before, like the trial is like a game, and I agree. It's like, you know, this playing in between I don't know, law forms of how to behave, and, you know, like how to present facts and how to question, and at the end of the day it really comes down to that, you know, like who plays this game the better. There are not like blowing our minds evidence in a way that, you know, like this is tried and retried, the same pictures, the same stuff, she say, he said, basically, and that's it. There's not a lot of strong evidence, to be fair, because, yeah, always the little scattered whatever thing on the floor, you know. So, and again, just to leave a final contest here, they try to beat a lot around the bushes of, sometimes, you know, he was angry, and, you know, they're an argument. Those things can happen to anyone, you know, like to have a kind of heightened argument verbally, you know. Sometimes people get pissed. I wonder if JD was at the end of his patience here, you know, especially in those last episodes of, you know, when they called the cops. He probably was at the last, you know, at the last of his energy with this whole charade and those people and her ex-wife, you know, the way we know her through the audios that we have reviewed, you know, the constant arguing about nothing. I mean, if any of you has heard the audios that we have reviewed on the channel here, you know very well that woman can just go on and on and on about something that you go like, what are we even arguing for? You know what I mean? And who knows how many audios are not available to us? You know? Who knows how many of those things happen? So, like, it's safe to say probably that if we have several audios of hours of endless chatters and arguing and nonsense, there is probably safe to say that there must have been like a kind of common practice dynamic in the relationship of those two. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna stop the stream for a moment. I'll see you back in an hour. And, like, what's going on here? Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the message and the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be back on with the new stream. So, go get some food. I'm gonna go get some food as well. And I'll see you in a bit. Alright? See you guys.